Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June 5th, 2020 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're delighted to have you with us this evening. Ms. LaMagna, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner May. Commissioner Cantu.
Here.
Commissioner Henry.
Present.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Paris.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland. Here. Mayor Derek L. Henry.
Here.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the May 1st, 2024 City Commission meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. This time we will have our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will read them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, item 8D, Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. Commissioner Danette Henry, $5,000 to Volusia Tigers, Inc. $2,000 to Florida A&M sorry about that. $2,000 to Florida A&M University National Alumni Association for their scholarship luncheon. $500 to the Steep House, Inc. Commissioner Paula Reed, $33.50 to Fresh Book Festival Summer Program for our summer camps. $500 for Children's Choir. $500 for Mainland High School Band to attend the Sugar Bowl 2025 at the request of Anaya Avery. $500 to the Black Pilots of America, Inc., Robert B. Griffin Chapter. $500 to A Wish, Inc. for the youth group field trip to Disney World. Item 8E, Finance Department Bike Week sponsorship funds. The $250 from Commissioner Paris to the Mainland High School Band is for the band to attend the Sugar Bowl 2025. Add $250 to A Wish, Inc. for the youth group field trip to Disney World from the Bike Week funds of Mayor Derek L. Henry. And add item 8S, Parks and Recreation Department BCU annual license fee waiver for 2021. That concludes the changes for the agenda.
I had a question. Is it the Sugar Bowl or the Super Bowl?
Sugar.
It is sugar? Okay. Well, I move that the agenda be accepted with the said changes.
It is a sugar. All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to our presentations. We already have done the Westside Elementary School presentation, so we're going to move on to the presentation by the Army Corps of Engineers. Yes, I did. Me too.
Good evening. I'm James LaGrone, otherwise if people call me work at Jim LaGrone. Just a little bit about me. I'm really excited to be here tonight. I'm just really excited about this project. When we signed this 5 months ago, and I was here 5 months ago for the signature, I was not really sure what they were giving me. They're like, here, you've been voluntold, here's this project. And then when I started studying with help of Miss Shannon Ponitz, I mean, her group is amazing. They really have a lot of knowledge. So a lot of the work that you're going to be showing here is through a lot of the help from Miss Ponitz and her group. So I'm going to go through very fast. So I want to check comm for a couple of folks. Tom Jester, are you online?
I am online. Can hear you.
Yes, sir. Sure do. Jason LaVecchia, are you online?
I am here.
Great. And Ashley Forwood, are you online?
I am also online. Can you hear me?
Grand. Very similar to their previous presentation where you're kind of giving notice to others. I really don't want to sit up here and give you things. I want to have the experts talk. I also have another person I'm going to introduce in a second. So I'm going to kind of go through the project delivery team very quickly, but they're going to introduce themselves as they go through the slides. So, and next, Tom Jester is going to talk about the process and study overview. Next, Jason LaVecchia, who's our engineering technical lead, is going to talk about the engineering activities and approach. And really what we're talking about here is the Midtown area flooding. Just north over here. And the area floods, is it nuisance flooding, is it catastrophic flooding, and how we're going to do it. So we're going to really explain the feasibility aspects of what we have done, where we're going to go, and how we're going to get there. So I have also Ashley Forwood, who's my plan formulation lead, and she's going to explain how we're going to formulate these alternatives and come up with a TSP. So before I go there, I want to kind of introduce Del Cavacci. He is our environmental justice coordinator. And Del, do you want to kind of give an idea of like, because when I first thought environmental justice, I thought it was like
doing justice for birds.
birds and stuff, but it's not that, is it?
No, it's for people and their environment.
Yes.
No. So yes, I'm Del Kabash. Everyone, I am the environmental justice coordinator for the Army Corps in the Jacksonville district. And based on certain demographic data and studies of the area, we've determined that of our area of concern, we've determined that it is worthy of environmental justice considerations. So that's what I'm here to do, study the area.
What does that mean, that it is worthy of the environmental justice? What does it mean?
So based on demographics like, ethnicity, income, area of the country, elevation, things like that.
Okay.
So certain statistics we get from various websites, like for instance, the Environmental Protection Agency, they have an EJ screen where they go through the demographics of the area based on the 2020 census. There's also the CEQs, their Climate and Environmental Justice tool, which I use to scale the area. And then there's also, I'm going to be, just doing research in the area, reaching out to citizenry in the area and making sure that when we have public meetings and when we, throughout our study process, that all communities are involved in that study process and they all have their voices heard in ways that hasn't happened before.
Okay.
Unique. Thanks, Del.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Glad you're here. So, like I said, I'm going to go through the slides, and some of these are just, mainly for the mayor, the city manager, and your commissioners to kind of find out who we are as a team. So, Tom Jester is my planning technical lead. So, I'm going to go ahead and let Tom talk. So, go ahead, and Tom.
They're gonna get her.
I'm Tom Jester. Sorry, I was muted. As the planning technical lead, I'm going to be leading all of our disciplines, whether that's engineering, plan formulation, environmental, through the study process and making sure that we're doing everything in a policy compliant way for what we do.
Hey, Tom, sorry to slow you down. Can you speak up or increase your volume some,
Yeah.
sir?
I can speak up. So I'm leading the team through the whole process. If we will go to the next slide, that'll show you a little bit about the process that we're going through. What you see at the top here with the study authority and purpose, this is what allows the Army Corps of Engineers to be assisting the city of Daytona Beach with addressing this flooding problem that is occurring in the Midtown area. Right now, we've just finished up our scoping. After that, we're going to start looking at this alternative formulation and analysis, feasibility level design, which are just analyzing alternatives, getting a solid enough design that we know how much money it's going to take to build, but we won't have those details to be able to build at the end of that, and then getting approval so that we can go to Congress to ask for the funds necessary to build whatever solution we determine is the right solution for this problems, as well as making that decision in conjunction with the city. The next slide shows that big process. So we're on the fourth step. When we finish this study, that will take us into that pre-construction engineering and design phase. Then we'll get to the construction and O&M. These are just general timelines for how long we're going. Next slide. These are the general timelines you can expect. So right now we just finished that first 4 months up. We're going to be about another year in doing our alternative evaluation, where we'll come up with a single plan that is what we're going to put forward. This is what the area needs in order to address the flooding issues that are occurring. After this point, that's when we'll release a draft report. We'll come back out in person. All of us will make it out in person to be able to talk with all of the communities that are going to be affected for with what by the plan. Next slide, please. So this is our overall process that we go through. It is iterative, which means at any point we might go back to the top, but also we will be continuing down consistently. What you see on this, a deeper dive into the six steps, is a brief description of what we're looking at, what we're doing during each step, and in a little bit more layman's terms than the technical terms that are in the diagram. The big thing that we will do as we go through this, and Ash will inform you on some of the stuff, some of the results of these steps that we've already done with Shannon and other stakeholders in the area, is that we've gotten through a first round of this iteration where we've gone from just figuring out the problem to figuring out these are what potential actions we can take, either independently or combined. And so we'll now be evaluating and comparing those. If you want to move to the next slide. So this is kind of how we do our evaluation and comparison. We look at what's out there today, and then we start projecting that into the future, and we call that our future without project condition. Or because we're the government, we love our acronyms, FWOP. That future without project condition is 5, 10, 15, all the way out to 50 years into the future from when we think we will start having benefits. So for right now, we're saying that we'll have everything through this process designed and built right now is more than just 5 years into the future, but not far off that. And so we start accruing benefits, and that's when we start having our future with project conditions. So that's whatever the alternative to doing nothing that we're looking into. We'll actually go through various potential impacts, whether those be environmental, positive or negative, community cohesion, flood damages, life safety issues, those type of things, in order to assess how us doing something changes from what us meaning the city and the Corps doing nothing. And we're not just looking at it as a point, we're actually looking at that whole area between doing nothing and doing some action as the way we're going to be looking for that evaluation and comparison. And we'll look across all of those various criteria. I did not list all of them that we have right now, but those are the big ones that we're looking into. So we'll do that across all of those, and then make a selection and recommendation. We'll do that with coordination with Shannon specifically, as she's been our point of contact and insanely helpful up to this point on this study. So we'll be working with her as we make those determinations and selections. I believe Jason LaVecchia is the person who will be next.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and cue him on that. So that was a lot of digesting right there. This is like the core processes. And Commissioner May, when we met in January, you were had some questions on that. So that's why I wanted to get these slides. What's future without project? It's no project. Okay, so it's not really dollar signs are here. This is just a graphic. It's not like a chart, even though it looks like a chart. To help fully understand is when we put these alternatives together, or suite of alternatives, which one's the best one? So let's just say the blue one's the best one, but that could be the Corps of Engineers. And then we have a green one, and that would be the locally preferred plan. So we have a long way to go because we're still investigating some of this stuff. So it's a lot of stuff. So some of the things that we did was we looked at problems. We looked at what the opportunities were, what the objectives, and what our constraints. Those are really what we call POCs. And you'll see that with some of the things that we have in here. And I'm willing to spend any other time. So I gave you guys a huge set of slides to kind of go through. So I hope that was helpful. And thank you, Tom, so much for briefing that. So Jason, are you ready for your next bit, sir?
I sure am.
All right.
Can you hear me loud enough? I'll try to speak up.
Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jim. So as Jim said, my name is Jason LaVecchia. I am the engineering technical lead for this project. I'm a civil engineer in hydrology and hydraulics here in the Savannah District Corps of Engineers. I've been here 15 years will be this coming Sunday. So I've got a little bit of a milestone there and 4 more days. So thanks for having me, Mr. Mayor and the commission. And I just wanted to kind of briefly say that your words were pretty inspiring earlier. I enjoyed listening to that and seeing all those bright young folks that you have in the audience there. And so hopefully, my ask is that maybe we push them, towards a little STEM, a little mathematics, maybe some engineering, and then you send them my way in the future so I can have some smart folks on my team to help out with problems like this. So, next slide, please.
I like that.
Well said.
All right, so this is our project area. I'm going to describe the engineering on this. I'm going to try to keep it as understandable for the non-engineer as possible. The figure on the left that you see there shows the 3 watersheds in our area, in our project area, which are kind of outlined in blue, red, and green, with the area of concern, or as Jim said, our acronyms. The AOC is in yellow, and that's kind of our focused area that you see on the right. So the figure on the left is a little bit zoomed out, and then the figure on the right is that same yellow area just zoomed in further. And so what is a watershed? Well, a watershed it's a delineated area that us engineers use to predict where, if we drop rainfall or a droplet of water, where is that going to flow once it hits the Earth's surface? And so we can see that in person, and the best way to study that is using modeling software, which I'll get into in the next few slides. But you can also see in the figure on the left, the blue line is kind of indicating where the current Nova Canal exists today, which is the main drainage system within the project area. And you can also see that there's 3 main outfalls, which is kind of the main way that water drains from this project area. Floodwaters drain from the project area back to the Halifax River. And so you'll see the three main outfalls are the northernmost is the 11th Street LPGA Canal, and then just south of our area of concern is the Reed Canal, and then the southernmost is the Halifax Canal, which ultimately, again, recedes the flow back to the Halifax River. You'll also notice that our area of concern in yellow has no main outfall, as the other 3 watersheds do. Or excuse me, the other 2 watersheds. So the Halifax River is also tidally influenced, and so the tide's able to come in and out, as you see indicated by the ebb and the flood arrows on that slide there on the left. And this can obviously exacerbate flooding during large storm events and hurricanes, storm surge. And so that kind of allows floodwaters not to exit the project area naturally with gravity, because there's backwater effects from that tide pushing water back into the area. And so from an engineering standpoint, this adds a lot of complexity to the study as a whole. Next slide, please, Jim. So I kind of want to go over what's been completed, what's ongoing, and what we're working on right now, and then what we have left to do, which is still the large majority of this work, because we're just getting started. But so far, we've been gathering and reviewing a lot of engineering studies that are provided by City of Daytona. And again, I want to echo Tom that City of Daytona engineering folks have been outstanding. I really appreciate, Shannon and her team and how much they've reached out and helped us with previous documents for review and all that. So kudos to them. You've got a great team in Shannon and her team down there. We did an in-person design charrette back in March, and we did a site visit, so I was able to get on the ground and see just how low-lying these areas are. And when you're standing out there, it becomes pretty obvious that you're in a low-lying area with, gravity's not on our side. There's not a lot of pitch, and so it's pretty obvious that flooding can occur pretty quickly. We've also, as Tom was saying, we've started to develop some measures and some alternatives. So example would be like what types of solutions are even worth looking into further for this area. And so then we're starting to develop our base two-dimensional hydraulic model. And the figure on the right kind of shows an example of that hydraulic model software that we're going to use that will predict the flooding due to various rainfall amounts. This software allows us to predict where the water will flow as the flooding is occurring. And so the blue area is kind of showing existing flooding for, in this case, a 100-year storm event. This is not a calibrated model, so these results aren't accurate at the moment, but this is just kind of an example of where we're heading in the future. We've also been collaborating with other sister USACE districts working on similar studies, trying to understand how they're handling this situation. In the future, what we're working on now is continue to refine this model. This is where we're going to incorporate some of these detailed and developed alternatives and measures into the model, and then we'll see how they perform once we drop some large hypothetical storm events on top of them. And then remaining, so again, just continue to work through this model, which is a large, it's a large task and a lot of modeling, a lot of engineering that's left to be done. And then we got to incorporate some sea level change, which is kind of a standard for the Corps of Engineers to, that way we can see how these alternatives will perform if the sea levels continue to rise in the future as we are predicting them to. And then ultimately, we're going to write a very detailed engineering appendix report that the public will get to review and have comment on as well. Next slide, please, Jim. So hopefully everyone is still awake, because I know for non-engineers this can be boring, but I did, for anyone interested, I did want to go a little bit, just kind of gloss over our approach. Because again, it is a difficult, this one's a doozy, I'll be honest. Normally we don't have rainfall flooding combined with the potential for tidal impacts. And so in a low-lying area like this. So this one is a little bit unique, which is also exciting and fun as an engineer. So how are we going to tackle this? So we've got a two-dimensional hydraulic model that I was just speaking about. That model is developed by us, the Corps of Engineers. It's free. It's, I think, the most widely used hydraulic model in the world, I believe. And that is called HECRAS. So that's the Hydrologic Engineering Center's River Analysis System. We're going to use that software, which basically allows us to perform flow calculations, sediment transport analysis to see where the sediment will go, and also some water quality modeling. What goes into that model? So we take what's already readily available. The first one being, you see USGS, which is another federal agency. They develop what's called a digital elevation model, and that's what you see on the top right figure there. And that's basically just elevations of the bare earth topography that has been collected from satellite imagery. And we'll use that in the hydraulic modeling software, and that'll help us predict where the flooding will actually occur. And then, of course, for our model, we're going to need rainfall. And so we will use NOAA Atlas 14 precipitation frequency database. And so basically, in order to assess the alternative's effectiveness, we really need rainfall in the model. And so we're going to use that NOAA's Atlas 14, which is a database of hypothetical rainfall events for 1 to 500 year reoccurrence storms. So if you've probably all heard about a 100-year storm, and that's developed from NOAA's Atlas 14. And they do that for every location throughout the continental U.S. So we're going to use their precipitation information. And then on day one of accepting this project, I kind of realized, again, that there's some tidal effects of the Halifax River that we can't ignore. And so in order to capture those tidal effects without having to go through an extensive coastal modeling exercise, which would blow the project's budget and schedule, we're leveraging information from another study that the Corps of Engineers has already completed, another coastal study, and that's called the SACS, the South Atlantic Coastal Study. And that's already been finished. And so that's got a lot of great information in that study. And so we're kind of piggybacking on it. And you see the bottom right figure there with all those orange dots in it. Each one of those orange dots has a plethora of coastal information, storm surge, sea level change, pressures, all this sort of thing. And so we're basically going to incorporate the data that came out of that other study, the coastal study, into our current hydraulic study that we're developing now. And so the two of those combined should make for a pretty powerful model. That's all I had on the engineering side. I'm happy to answer any questions.
It's a lot, right? And like Jason, you didn't put us to sleep, but I had a cup of coffee before I got here, so. But I get it, I'm an engineer. One of the things that, is mentioned is we have been working with Volusia County. We've also been working with Daytona International Airport. We've also been working with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And we've been working with Florida DOT and Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So we've had 3 different stakeholder meetings to get more data, not just data associated with what City of Daytona has, but what does Volusia have to offer us. And Volusia just gave me a disk drive of 200 gigs of data from their resiliency group that they've been working with the region. So I have tasked 2 engineers to process that data. Is it good? Is it that? So we're also looking at that as well. Some of the stuff is like geology, topography, economic resources, which we're not really focusing on today. So we're just kind of focused on plan formulation, engineering, and then Ms. Ashley Forward's going to kind of talk about more of the nitty gritty when it comes to the plan formulation and how we're going to get to iron to a solution to a point where it says, this is our solution, and then I'll pitch that to the commission. So Ashley, are you ready by any chance?
I sure am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I always have mic issues, so I just want to double check. So my name is Ashley Forwood. I am a plan formulator on this study. I'm happy to be here tonight and tell you guys a little bit more about the planning process. And basically, I want to take you through what we've done since the very beginning up until where we are now. So Tom, who's my counterpart in this study, explained the entire study overview, and I'm going to go from start to current. So I wanted to start out with the measures development. So this is a list of measures that was created during the charrette. And if you don't know what a charrette is, it's basically our kickoff meeting that we have with stakeholders, with our sponsor, et cetera. So they were developed during that charrette and the site visit. And before I get too far into it, a measure is basically just an action that we can take at a location that might help address the problem. It's just all of the options that we basically threw at a wall at first, and now we're going in and refining those. But this was our initial list, and it's continued to evolve a little bit through the study process, but it's meant to be really broad and encompass every type of measure that we discussed. So now that we have a list of measures developed, we then wanted to assess them on what you see on the far right side, which is effectiveness, acceptability, and efficiency. So effectiveness is just that. It's how effective is it going to be, and we measure that by seeing if it achieves objectives. Secondly is acceptability of a measure, so how severely a measure may violate a constraint. So in that case, it might help us answer questions such as, does this measure break any laws? Because if so, it's going to get screened and we're not going to look at it further, right? Another question that it might help us answer is, will it be acceptable to the public? Okay, well, so we can kind of gauge which measures are going to come out on top in that regard. So lastly is the efficiency, which answers the question of roughly how cost effective is the measure relative to other measures. So it gives us kind of a baseline understanding of how these measures stack up against one another. So this was the assessment that we used to combine measures and do an initial formulation of alternatives. So before you go to the next slide, I want to just highlight this bottom right diagram that Tom mentioned earlier on in the presentation. So through the couple of slides that I have, we'll be going down that list of steps. So right now we are at that second step. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So now that we have our measures and we formulated our alternatives, this is our initial list, our initial array of alternatives. And actually, some of these have been screened already. So for example, underground storage, which is alternative number 8, that was screened because we know, like Jason just said, that there's already a really low water table in the area. So he alluded to that, which makes this just a very expensive and fairly ineffective solution when compared to other alternatives. So now that we have this initial list of alternatives, the remaining ones will be evaluated and then later on compared. And then after they are compared, we can select an alternative plan. So how do we do that? Next slide, please. So here we're going to evaluate those alternatives through what you see on the left hand of the screen: environmental quality, economic development, and social effects. So those are going to be the criteria that we use. There are metrics that are bulleted under each of those to compare numbers and qualitative data during the evaluation. So this is still pretty general. It's not as specific as we will get eventually because we're early on in the process. But some of the metrics are known at the stage that we're at. So flood damage reduction, for example, this is going to be measured using one of the Corps of Engineers models that we have. Another metric that's under development is community cohesion, right? So Dell is going to help us, and the whole team, we're going to get together and try to understand and figure out how best to measure that metric. So just to go down the list, starting with environmental quality, this is the effect on ecological, cultural, and aesthetic resources. It'll be measured through conducting an environmental impacts assessment and assessing both the negative and positive impacts to cultural resources. Next, we have economic development, which essentially means the changes in the distribution of economic activity in the area. And that will be measured using employment, flood damage reduction, recreation, and traffic rerouting. And then last, we have social effects, which are the potential changes that we might see in a community or communities in the area. That'll be evaluated using community cohesion and life safety metrics. And so here, I think it's really important to just remember that this planning process is very iterative, and we're likely going to evaluate and then compare and then screen and then go back and evaluate and then compare and screen. And so every time we hit that screening mark, we're coming back with fewer alternatives. So eventually we'll get to what we call a TSP, or a tentatively selected plan. So that's a little bit of just the behind the scenes of what we've been doing and how we conduct the planning process, and it highlights how iterative it is. And at this point, you're all caught up to where we are. So I will hand it back over to Jim to go over the 90-day look ahead.
Great. Again, it's a lot of information. I know you're all probably drinking from a fire hose, but I know it's different, especially when you're used to having a speaker up here kind of explain. But this is a team approach, and I have experts, on just about every level that we go with. And one of the things that we do is not only do we have experts at this level, we also go up to our subordinate command, which is up in the South Atlantic Division, and they look at it in more of a context of South Atlantic Division. And then after that, it goes to headquarters, and they look at it. Each step has a set of reviewers that have looked at some of this stuff and looked at the problems that you guys are facing, and they say, well, wait a second, we've seen this problem in California, we've seen this problem in New England, we've seen this problem here, and we've tried it here, something that we haven't had. So we also have those resources as well. So we go to the Major Subordinate Command up in the South Atlantic Division or headquarters, and then we also have a planning center of expertise, which is based out of California. It's funny that it's for flood risk management, it's based out of California, but there's a reason behind it. I wish I can list it, but there is. But one of the things that I really do like about this project is kind of like what Jason mentioned, is the difficulty of it. You know, we as engineers, plan formulators, biologists, ecologists, economists, when you have a difficult problem, sometimes those are fun. And we're not going to give up, okay? And we're going to do the best that we can. And we're going to have involvement with you all. So that's really kind of like the next slide, is how are we going to keep up? How are we going to let you all know, and hopefully not bore you all to death with all these minor details. I have slides, I have my information. This Ponitz has all my information, so if you all want to call me, and I will help out whatever these slides can. But this slide here kind of briefs just about everything we have, but where we're going to brief you all next. I'm looking at maybe September 18th, maybe December 18th, as we kind of go through it till we get to this tentative selective plan, like Ashley mentioned, right? And we'll involve engineering. The next talk, maybe in September, I'll bring my economist, Mr. Stephen Phillips here. He is a graduate of University of Florida and works out of Mobile. So we're a brokered project, meaning I have people in Texas, Tom. I have people in Mobile, Ashley, and I have somebody in Savannah. They're not here because we're trying to save money as much as we can to help focus this study. So that's pretty much it that I have, besides trying to broker on July 16th at Dickerson's Gym. We're gonna have a public workshop. And we want to invite all the commissioners, mayor, city manager. We want everybody there if you can. And it's going to be at 2 p.m. on July 16th. We're going to do one presentation, and then we're going to do another presentation at 6 p.m. And we're going to brief everybody and kind of broker off in groups between planning, engineering, where I kind of see Jason and Justin having a lot of conversations on explaining models. And that's it. Yes, ma'am. Did I blow your breath away by any chance?
She has no voice tonight.
Oh,
I wanted to say, when was it? July 16th is a Tuesday, and you're saying you'll have a presentation at both 2 p.m. and at 6 p.m.
yes, ma'am.
That's good, because working folks can come to the later day.
That's correct. Just to give people who, if they want to show up in the day, they have opportunity in the day, or if they want to show up at night, we'll show up at night.
Okay.
Jim, I have a question. The
Yes,
current
ma'am.
work that's being done on the Nova Canal by the FDOT, is that in conjunction with this, or is this something that they're doing separately, that you guys are going to evaluate with what else can be done to help?
Let me see if I can understand the question. I suffer from ringing in the ears. So I think what you're asking is, what we're going to do with Nova Road and the intersection with the Navy Canal, or I wasn't really following.
The FDOT is currently dredging parts of the canal, so I was just curious, is this something separate from what you're doing right now?
Yes, ma'am, it is separate.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, and we actually drove by there when I was, every time I come into town, I want to kind of see how this, because it's dry out there, and I wanted to see what it looks like really dry. So when we start getting more wet, I'm going to come back when it's wet, and I want to come back during September, October, November to see, with these king tides associated in Halifax River, how's that water staying in those areas, and how do I know if I keep going back? So I did see that. It did look like the excavator was sinking in the mud a little bit in a way. And of course, I was like, I wonder if you could do a pontoon boat in there and really clear that out. So like Jason and Justin Nixon, he's also on the team, and they're coming together trying to come up with a way, how do we abate, like a tipping point, right? When you look at flood risk, right, and how do you manage that risk? What's the tipping point where it becomes a nuisance? And one of the things that Tom Gesture was teaching me is what we don't want is people leaving the area, right? We want the people stay in the area. So what becomes a nuisance flood to a problematic flooding? That's really kind of what we're geared for. So I hope that helps. And I know this is a lot, and it's probably long. I went longer than 20 minutes that I wanted, but I'm still open for questions.
That's okay. Okay.
Grand.
I don't.
Yes.
Okay, this is painful for my voice, but what is the date? 2027 for approval?
Actually, yes, it's a 3-year study. So when we signed the federal cost share agreement, FCSA, we signed it, the Colonel Booth signed it on January 22nd, 2024. So 3 years from that date, January 22nd, 2027 is when we'll have a chief's report, and that's what we call with, it goes to that part. And let me see if I can go back a few slides. I was kind of anticipating this right here. So that's where those dates come from. The green is what we started, and blue is where we're going, dark blue. Light blue is where we want to go. We want to make sure that's where we go and get to construction. So when my predecessor, Bo Corbett, up here was talking, he was explaining the next phases of construction. And I think you had some questions on that. So that's why I put those slides there. I hope that helps. Oh, yes, ma'am. Oh, great question. The PM, funding timeline. Well, this is funded under DRSA 23, and so one of the things, let me go back a slide, sorry, 2 other slides. So we've reached the alternative milestones meeting, and you could see those little checklists. They're not just bullets. These are things that we've accomplished as a team. And what we have is identified what we call a vertical team alignment memo, a VTAM. And what that does is it aligns cost. And Jason and Justin on the engineering side are adjusting some of those costs. So we're hopeful to get those costs aligned, and then we can get remaining funding so we can move that forward. So we have $3 million at this point to complete the study with DRSA 23. Yes, ma'am. None. The city will not contribute. It's 3 million, 100% feds. And what Bo mentioned back in January, that is unheard of. Usually it's 50-50. We pay 1.5 million, the non-federal sponsor pays 1.5 million. It's 50-50. So having this study be 100% federal is absolutely unheard of. And I have to applaud the mayor and everyone else to get that to happen. I've never seen it happen before. I don't know how it happened, but kind of glad it did. Yes, ma'am. Yes. She was asking about scheduling for the meeting, and oh, sorry. Oh, we're done. There's no competition. We have the 3 million. Oh, construction funds. Oh, well, that's a different ball of wax, construction funds. We're not there yet. Right. And I think when Jason and Tom and Ashley start getting through things and they start showing the real need and then how that emergency comes through, let me go back a few. I don't think that's the slide I want. This is a really good one. It's basic, but it provides what we want to do. Is once we have the chief's report, right, in that report we will provide a memorandum to the report, kind of summarizing our findings, kind of like a bottom line up front. And once that happens, and then it gets into the queue. And then it goes, once it gets into the queue, then we start waiting for a congressional authorization to say, you are ready to go. Once we have that congressional authorization, then we need congressional construction funding. That's the competition. So that's kind of in the future, and I can't, I'm not Karnak where I could put a letter in my head and guess what the contents, but it's okay.
Real quick on that. So we mentioned earlier that parts of the area we're looking at, it qualify as an environmental justice community. That helps with that competition for construction funds.
Thanks, Tom. So yes, we're still in the feasibility study. We've got the funding for there. So when I think, was it Harmon that was mentioned here before? I can't remember. He came up here and talked about the competition. He was thinking about the competition to get an FRM study. We've got it. We're moving ahead. And we're still trying to get to the study. As far as trying to get to construction, that's a whole other ball of wax that we're going to try to get to as best we can. But right now, we're going to stay focused on the feasibility study. I'm hoping I'm answering, but if not, you can always email me, Commissioner May. Any other questions? Probably bored you all to death. No. Okay. And it's hard to follow up with everything that preceded. And, like Jason said, that's just good stuff, man. That was nice to be a part of, so thank you.
Well, we want to thank you for coming, and while that other stuff is good stuff, we have a goal of making Daytona Beach worthy of our children's dreams. And a part of the way that we make it worthy of their dreams is that we solve that problem. So while that's tough for those of us who are lay people when it comes to the science of the matter, we know we have a water problem. We get more water than we know what to do with. And we have known for a long time that we don't have the solution. And yeah, we do trust you and we trust our staff to work with you. And we want to do all that we can to let you know that we care about the work that you're doing.
You now have a partner.
Okay,
You're not in alone.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 7, which is our citizen comments. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the city commission. Sorry, citizens' comments. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the city commission on any item on the consent agenda. Our first speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Evelyn Rodriguez.
John Nixon, 413 North Grandview Avenue. FYI, 2 questions. 8I is a non-motorized continuous counter system. I can't figure that out. Is that what we did for Bike Week when we determined how many bikers that were running around? Is it something of that nature? If we could have a definition of that. And secondly, on Public Works, the FDOT, if you looked at Miriam Gayabi's projection of what she wants for A1A, I ask you to go, if you have an opportunity, to go up to Ormond. As soon as you pass Bel Air Plaza, there's a park. There are like 50 signs, yellow signs, stop signs, etc. It is just over-signed. If we do that on our A1A, the idea of making Daytona Beach an ugly, sign-filled community is not to our advantage. It's safe. Her 190 bollards per intersection is ridiculous. It will force people into the street because the streets are narrow as they start. Once you have a projection on the sidewalk and then you put a bollard there, if you only have 18 inches, you can't get 2 people walking in 18 inches. So someone is going to have to sit there and wait for an hour or 2 until all that traffic comes, and then they'll walk. But the chances are they're going to walk in the street. And there are like 9 locations in front of Gary's place, in front of Cruising Cafe, in front of the Hilton. There are all kinds of locations where people are going to be forced into the street. So I'm asking you, before we do this, because the last time we did A1A, we made mistakes up and down. And we corrected them prior, some of them. But the palm trees, if you remember, you have to have room for a wheelchair. And there were 4 locations in which there wasn't room for a wheelchair. So they put in the palm trees, and then before the approval, they had to go back, spend $57,000 to take the palm trees back out because they didn't meet code. So I'm asking you, before we screw up A1A, to look at it very carefully. It has to be attractive. We cannot, 1, cause damage by people walking into the street, which we did with the parking lot for the Ocean Center. The ramp went right down in the middle of the street. So I'm asking you to look at this carefully, and if you've got a chance, just look at it. It looks terrible, and that would be in 6 locations on A1A.
Okay. Our next speaker is Evelyn Rodriguez, and on deck is Danny Fuqua.
Evelyn Rodriguez, Molly Road, Daytona Beach. I have a few things. For 8F, I'd like clarification because both the agenda and the backup memo has a period covering 6/24 to 6/2/05. I assume it's 2/25, but it's not 2050, 2050. On 8H, this facility use agreement, according to the backup, it already started a couple of days ago. Are we ratifying this agreement? Has the city manager already entered into this agreement? on 8K for that Coast Guard auxiliary. We just approved that contract like in April. And this cover people, they weren't even I know the Public Works does a great job in this bidding process, but this, I can't believe in a couple of months, or that the building is old, that they couldn't figure out that they might be asbestos, and now we're doing a change order, and I keep seeing this over and over again. I really have a concern about that. And on 8M, the disaster debris monitoring, according to their original contract, their specification said that they would be doing management and disaster recovery planning. Isn't that what they were supposed to be doing from the beginning? Why do we have to have an additional contract for just the tennis when back when we did the original contract, they were supposed to be doing all disaster recovery planning? You guys added something here that I wasn't aware of, the 8S, thing about Bethune-Cookman College waiving some fees back in 2021, and they've come now to ask for a waiver, and that wasn't even a hurricane season, so what are they gonna ask for, another waiver for the next year? I don't agree with that.
Okay, and our next speaker is Danny Fuqua.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners, City Manager. I just want to, I'm Danny Fuqua, 412 Alethea Drive, Daytona Beach, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Youth Aviation Camp. It is a STEMS program, and I just want to ask for your support in approving that agenda item tonight, item 8H, and I'm asking, if you don't mind, for your support, financial support as well. I provided a budget and just want to know if you will please support this. This is important to our youth. This is our youth in our city of Daytona Beach, and this is going to put them in the pipeline for general aviation. So I'm asking for your support tonight. Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Fuqua,
Oh.
come back.
I just wanted to provide my support for Danny Fuqua for this program. I was speaking to a couple of residents in regards to flight simulators, and at the age of 12, children today could probably go in there and be able to fly a plane in like 2 weeks. So I think something like this, because they're so involved with technology nowadays, I think this would be something good to have in the community. And also one of the gentlemen that just spoke, the engineer, is looking for more engineers to help him out in the future. So I would like to provide my support to Mr. Fuqua. And if possible, I'd like to give $5,000 from my ARPA funds to go to the program.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So the flight simulator was purchased in January, so you have the flight simulator?
Yes, sir. Those was funds that was donated to the Robert B. Gritton chapter and purposes to purchase those 2 flight simulators.
So what does it mean, the sponsorship for Summer Flight Academy? 3 students from Florida.
So each year, we are a national organization. So each year, each state would have to send 3 students to the Summer Flight Academy, which is in Houston, Texas. That Summer Flight Academy starts in July 7th through like the 21st, so roughly 15 days. Those students, when they go out there, if they meet the qualifications, they get to solo. When those students return back to their home state, our organization will have to continue to work with those students until they get their private pilot license. And so basically what we're doing, we're preparing these students, put them in the pipeline for tomorrow, for the future.
And how many students So it costs 30, I'm not understanding, 37,000 for 3 students?
So for the 3 students that's going out to the Summer Flight Academy,
That's 12,
from the state of Florida is
4,000 each.
$4,000 each. Now, the $35,000 is to support the STEMS program for the Daytona Beach public school students here.
And how many students will get into the program?
So
Did you
for
say-
each section, we plan on having 20 students. 30 days, and then we'll break for the 4th of July, and then we come out with a whole new class.
So you would have 40 students, you'll have 2 sections.
That is correct. And so with those 40 students, they will go on educational trips, such as they will take a tour of SpaceX, the Space Center down in Melbourne, also the Embry-Riddle. We plan on taking them to the airport over in Orlando, the airport here in Daytona Beach, and also the air traffic control tower here in Daytona Beach, and also the air traffic control tower down in New Smyrna Beach. We would take those students on educational trips so that they could get an idea what general aviation is. It would allow those students to be able to have a decision to go into aviation. You know, we introduce sports a lot, but we would like to introduce them to aviation, general aviation. As I was driving to the City Commission meeting tonight, I received 2 phone calls from parents. I get phone calls almost 2 to 3 times out of the week. Mr. Fuquay, what can I do? Do you have any grants? Do you have any scholarships? My son, my daughter is interested in aviation. If everybody know me, I have a passion for Daytona Beach. And my passion tonight is to make sure our students have the opportunity that they don't get to get. And so it's very sensitive to me because it's dear to my heart, is to help these students.
Okay, this is an expensive program, but it's definitely worth it.
STEM's program is very expensive. These students are going to be flying. These students are going to have the opportunity to sit behind that cockpit and fly a real airplane.
I understand. Did we ask Embry-Riddle for like a donation? Did we ask Daytona State?
No, sir, I haven't.
Not just you, I'm just saying, did we? Okay. I'll talk with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any other commissioners?
I'll call you.
Thank you.
I'd like to know if the Black Pilots of America are contributing anything.
Yes. Black Pilots of America is part of that $11,000 that I received to purchase those flight simulators.
Okay, so that's their contribution.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And that was our final speaker for the consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Mayor. Go ahead.
Well, aye or nay?
I'm okay. I have a discussion on one of the items.
Oh, do you need to pull one?
I really don't need a poll, I don't think. Can I bring something up real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Item 8K.
Wait, I called for the vote. I said,
Oh.
have a motion, we have a second.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold the vote, okay?
Okay, on
Okay.
item 8K, on April 5th, 2023, we approved a resolution authorizing the city manager to provide a training facility for the city permits and license division at North Basin Common Building at Halifax Harbor Marina, which I have a question. Since the project has been delayed, the construction, back on that resolution, hold on, there's a lot of pages here. Item F, it says at any time after the 2 years from the effective date, the city manager may terminate use of the premises by permits and license division upon 30 days of notice. since the project has been delayed in the construction, I would like to see if we could do some house cleaning and maybe move that date up to April 5th of 2027. Which that would give 2 years, because the work's probably not gonna be done to probably the end of this year, which is 2025.
I was gonna say, David Waller will come up to give us a time frame of the work schedule.
Good evening, David Waller, Public Works Director. If I understand, the question is actually looking to amend the lease that the P&L has with Business Enterprise? No.
Not at all.
All right, help me understand the question.
Tell me when the construction's gonna be done to this building, probably by the end of this year?
Yes, ma'am, I would
Okay.
expect so.
So
There'll
that's
be
all-
a slight delay with the remediation effort
Correct.
that needs to be done for the
Okay,
mess.
that's all I needed from you.
Okay.
So, on the original resolution that we approved in April 5th, 2023, the city manager had the ability to send a letter out to vacate the permanent licensing within 30 days. So that would be April of 2025. Right. So I would like to extend it 2 more years to 2027, April 5th of 2027, since the construction was delayed.
But is there a need for that when David just said that it'll be done by December?
Yes, because on April 5th, 2023 is when we approved the original resolution. And we gave to April 2025, 2023. Do you get what I'm saying? So that would be 2 years.
Right, you want to change the date and extend it to make it 2 years again because there's been a
Correct,
delay.
because it
And my
was
question
delayed.
is, with what he just shared with us, is there a need to change it? It sounds as if we're going to still meet within the timeline.
Actually, yes, I would, because the money is actually coming out of the special reserve funds for permanent licensing, and those funds can only be spent for permanent licensing by state law. So I don't want it to look like we are doing something that is not correct. Like we are doing this work and then not saying anybody's gonna do anything, but not, I mean, we have permanent licensing goes in, and then we give a notice within 30 days to vacate.
I don't think we wait till the 30 days, but this,
But do you get what I'm coming around?
I don't think it's an issue for the staff, and it's not an issue. So, yeah, I don't mind.
Right. So I just like to start the resolution from April 5th, 2027.
Okay.
And Mayor, you did.
And I think, talking to Mr. Jackson and Mr. Gross, it does not have to come back, it can just be added in.
Okay. All right, we will, we can just be added in? We don't have to?
need to do an amended, right?
Right.
I'll presume we're gonna do that by motion. I'm sorry, I presume we're doing that by motion.
Well, there was a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Strickland to approve the consent agenda. So if they want to
Subject to-
amend it to,
okay, so I'll amend the commission, Jesus. I will amend the consent agenda that resolution's date will change to the date that she suggested.
April 5th, 2027.
April 5th, 2027.
Mm-hmm.
Will you amend your second?
okay. So,
Okay.
and Mayor, we did have 4 speakers that I guess wanted to speak on the aviation camp that signed up under the wrong section. Those students.
We haven't voted on the consent agenda yet.
Yeah, so do we want?
So we will,
Okay.
yes, if I have 4 students
Okay.
from Embry-Riddle who would want to speak, yes.
Is it, last name's Mr. Stewart? First name? Come on.
Everybody just get up.
And on deck is James Goggins III.
Fine young man from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Because they hadn't spoken.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Cipriani Stewart. I am a current junior at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I'm originally from New Jersey. I am a commercial single and multi-engine pilot, as well as a certified flight instructor and an advanced ground instructor. That's my background. So that's where I am now. I love teaching. I'm extremely passionate about aviation education, but I wouldn't be here today, talking to you guys today at such a prestigious university, wearing the suit, talking in front of the mayor of Daytona Beach, right? If it wasn't for the programs that I was in high school. I started in high school. I was really into performing arts. I loved music, dance, all that jazz. But I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do as a career. And I always grew up loving cars, bikes, airplanes, loved driving past the airport, but I didn't know how to get into aviation. Like nobody talks about how, oh, here how to be a pilot, here you go do this, right? I didn't know you could go to college for that. I didn't know you could go to a flight school outside of college. I didn't know that the military was a possible route for me because I wore glasses. I'm wearing contacts right now. There's a lot of misconceptions I had about the industry as a whole. I never saw pilots that looked like me very often. I flew fairly often. I love United. But it wasn't very often that I met people that looked like me, that were like me, that could talk to me on an eye-to-eye level. And it wasn't until my current mentor, Khaled Shebley, he's a first officer at United right now. He was a line check airman at Republic at the time. He runs a nonprofit organization called SAFE, stands for Student Aviator Flight Experience. Now, their mission and goal is to take kids, underrepresented kids, from towns and cities and help them get into general aviation. Now, they sponsor kids for their whole license. So I was in high school. I joined the aviation club. They partnered with my high school, and they funded me all the way through from nothing to learning how to fly and land a plane and getting my license before I had even graduated high school. And I am a direct byproduct of that program. And that has taken me from a kid who didn't know what he wanted to do at all in life, who was fairly lost, to someone who has now gone to a college that is super prestigious, who now learned to love learning. Not only someone who didn't want to go to college, but now I love learning, and I also love teaching. I'm very, very passionate about what I do, and I want to spread that to other people. And I asked the city of Daytona Beach to help support Mr. Fuquay with his organization, because students like me and my colleagues are direct byproducts of these programs and the actual fruits of these programs. So, thank you.
Our next speaker is James Goggins, and on deck is Caleb, and the last name is? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm James Goggins III, and I'm also a junior at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and I still hopefully one day aspire to be as smart as these young scholars that were up here before me. But I honestly grew up in a household where there were 4 possible jobs you could get. That was doctor, lawyer, and doctor. So naturally, I chose to be a police officer. And my dad was like, oh, let's try to expand that a little bit more. So he put me in 8th grade in a summer camp, a youth summer camp program focused on aviation, very similar to the one that we'd hope to bring here to Daytona Beach. And it was there where, unlike my colleague before me, Cipriani, he may have had a passion for aviation. I could care less. I didn't really know anything about it. I was just there because my dad was paying for it and it was something to do. And so for me, being there was nothing for like the first few days, but after some time we were able to learn some things about general aviation. I think the field trips is what really kicked it off for me. We went to ATC towers, we went to airports, we took location visits, we even went to go up in airplanes, and over time being exposed to those experiences really made me be like, wow, like this is a possibility. I can do something. I didn't even know aviation was possible. I didn't even know I could be a doctor or a lawyer, or a police officer. And so honestly, these programs I feel like are very beneficial because in my community growing up, I'm from Marbell, Maryland. We don't have any programs that are teaching students about aviation. Everything is really focused on a small sector of jobs. And so I feel like having the exposure to aviation, especially as a young child, would really be able to promote more people coming up into be aviation like myself, like my colleagues. And so I hopefully aspire to be able to teach young children, older children, anybody who's willing to learn how they can get into aviation, because I feel like it's an industry that could always use more help. Thank you.
Caleb, if you want to. And on deck, is it Azari Abbas? Okay.
She's gonna do anything.
I just feel like that last name I'm gonna really mess up.
Good evening. I introduced myself to Mr. Mayor earlier before the meeting, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do it again. My name is Caleb Fakunle. I am an aerospace engineering major at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and that's not something that I knew I could say 2 years ago. So, unlike James and Cipriani, I didn't have a organization that encouraged me up into my field. As a kid, I wanted respect, I wanted honor, I wanted money, and I knew that the future, or I felt in my heart that the future was in aviation and aerospace engineering. And so my dilemma is, why did I have to wait 18 years, or as soon as I got into college, to find someone like myself? You know, I gone through middle school, high school, and there was no program to upbring me, right? And I just persevered because I had great parents. And it's until I got into school that I realized, oh, I'm really not that special, right? I'm not that special. There's other people like me. There's other people that want to do the same things that I want to do. I don't have to be alone in this. This is not something that I do on my own. And so I'm in support of the organization that Mr. Fuqua is organizing, and yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And our final speaker was Azari Abbas.
Hey everyone, thank you for allowing us to speak in support of this great cause that I heard about. So my name is Azari Abbas. I'm also an aerospace engineer at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, studying spacecraft detail design. So also, like my friend Caleb, I grew up in Broward County, Florida. I did not know that someone like me can, one, either even go to college right out of high school. I thought I would have to go to Broward College, community college, work myself through, and then if I'm lucky, I'll get a bachelor's degree. It was either that or go hustle. And you know, everybody here knows what hustle means when you're in Miami area, Fort Lauderdale area. So I'm not a pilot, but I know the field of aviation, the field of engineering, STEM in general, is a great field to create high income earners. In the Black community, we need more high income individuals, people that want to give back. I know I will once I become a high income earner. Currently, we can't talk about that. So, yeah, growing up, I didn't even know that I could become an aerospace engineer. If it wasn't for a recruiter from Embry-Riddle coming to my school and letting me know that there are opportunities in engineering, and me diving in and finding a mentor through the National Society of Black Engineers, which is an organization very similar, that do very similar work with engineers, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm here in support of this great initiative that is being brought up. In your words, might be a little expensive, but dropping $35K for 20 students to make $500K per year in the future and giving back to the city of Daytona Beach, Florida, I think that's an investment that would be paying off greatly. And maybe they'll come back, give you a little Maybach or something. Thank you.
What's a Maybach?
I, hey,
What it is?
is this the appropriate time for me to say I'm sold? I'll do 5,000.
It's the appropriate time, yeah. Commissioner Strickland. Mr. Fuquay, I hate to divert and go back into, can you come back up here for a minute? So you want to do a program and you got this equipment, is
Yes.
what I'm understanding?
That is correct.
And so in order to do the program, it costs this amount of money. Why do those 3 students have to go to
Houston, Texas. Each year, it's part of our bylaws that each state sends students to the Summer Flight Academy. Now.
No, just tell me why.
Oh, okay.
Don't take it out.
Because it is a national requirement.
It's a national requirement in your, what you do, because that's part of what makes the program, and they go there and they get, how long they go to that?
They're there for 15 days. Now, keep in mind, those 3 students are not, that was a different budget. If you look at this page here, that was money, those 3 students was out of the $37,000 that we got from other grants. So
you already
this
did
program-
those 3?
Yeah, those 3 students are.
That has nothing to do with
That has
that.
nothing to do with this. This $35,000 is going to be for students here in Daytona Beach at the Cherry Center.
Okay, and you want to do it this year, but don't you want to do it in the future?
No, sir. I want to do it like this.
Just
summer.
want to do it now?
Yes, sir. Because the problem is, sir, I get phone calls, I get emails all the time. Mr. Fuquay, my son, my daughter has an interest in aviation. And for me not to be able to give them something, it's just like you, sir. Your programs, you get phone calls or you get, you might have the resources, but my resources, I have to raise money. And I came out of pocket. I have a student a young man that I went into my own budget and gave him a discovery flight for 2 hours. That was a little over $300. And so when somebody call and they have that burning desire, I can't, because I'm all about giving back. And I'm only asking to allow us this opportunity so we could prove to the city of Daytona Beach and the citizens here that this is a great opportunity for our students to put them in the pipeline. These students out of Daytona Beach, put them in the pipeline for general aviation. I drove by the airport, they breaking ground. They're getting ready to expand Daytona Airport. And we want to make sure that our students here in Daytona Beach have the opportunity.
So you want to do it this year, but you don't have an ambition. I know I'm taking up commission time on something, but you don't have the ambition to keep doing it. And so I'm one of those people that thinks, what about next year, and how do we, I don't know how we raise this kind of money, because, obviously, the money that they've donated is money that's for this.
Right.
And it's going away. Once it's spent, it's done. We can't do this, but it's not as though a blind mule can see that, to me, this is what this money is for. So, I'm gonna give the donation from the ARPA funds, but I'm trying to figure out what's your long-term vision and how do we support that, but I guess today is not the day for that day.
Well,
Today is just the day if you get it going, and then how do I help you to keep it going? Because I see so many great things, and you young men, people hear you get up and they say, y'all special. well, you are special. But one of you said it kind of, you know that you're special, but you ain't really special. And I say that to say that there's a whole lot of people like you. If they had the opportunity, they'd be just like you. And we as a society, we miss that. We miss that. So I know, because I get that from my own children that I raise and kids that I have. People will say this child is special, and I'm not really special. When you work with kids, you know that most of them can do that. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Mr.
But you get the 5,000, but we have to talk to figure out. I don't know how you get the 35,000, but
Sure.
so we'll figure out that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, here I go. I cannot have worked at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for 28 years and only give $500. You young men have impressed me so. You represent well. This is what Embry-Riddle produces. Add 4,500 to my 500 and make my 5,000.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome, Mr. Fuquay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I say this? I watch Shark Tank a lot. And before I sit down, I must ask the other commissioners, can I count on them?
We'll not all have the Bike Week funds, but some do. And that's
Thank
up
you.
to them. It's up to you.
Commissioners.
And I will call you. I have to check my funds because my last offer
How
funds
much?
I gave to the fire department for a new vessel.
I understand.
whole
That's a good cause
250.
too, so
Yeah, they call.
thank you. Commissioner May?
I have some additional, this is so painful. I have some,
Does it sound like you say you have some additional funds that you would donate? Okay.
I have additional events. I want, flashing red light. I have additional events I want to budget for first.
Thank you.
Writes with hieroglyphic.
Thank you so much. I would like to say again, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it, and you're gonna be very proud of these students this summer.
I want to get somebody to help you. Okay,
Thank you.
we're going to work on it. And Commissioner Henry not here, so how much money did he raise? 15, 5, 10, 15, 20? Call Commissioner Henry and see if we can get 5 out of her. And then we'll see if we can get 10 more thousand from some donors or something. We'll figure it out. Keep up the good work.
And we did have a motion in a second, an amended motion in a second to approve the
We're
consent.
amending with these additions, yeah.
Oh, do you want to add these additions tonight?
I'm just amending motions tonight.
Yes.
I'd like to amend my motion to include the contributions that have been shared, 5,000 from Commissioner Strickland, 5,000 from Commissioner Paris, 5,000 from Commissioner Reed, and 5,000 from Mayor Derek L. Henry.
4,500 from Commissioner.
Oh yeah, 4,500 because 500 is already on the plate, on the table.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. You know what? I guess it's rude, but I was just gonna ask you this. Is it illegal for us to spend money out of Commissioner Henry's account? It's literally illegal?
Wow, you got it. You got it.
Wow, that was like it's like out of a TV.
Did you know she was there?
Were you watching? We able to watch? Is the baby okay?
Is the baby okay? He's getting stitched.
Okay. All right, okay.
It flashed at me that my mic is not on. We need at least $5,000 to contribute to the aviation STEM program that Reverend Fuquay has brought before us, and we have 4 young men, fine young men from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University who've given us a compelling reason as to why we should contribute to this. Because had they not known somebody or gone through some program to experience aviation, they never would have known. Because see, we're not always exposed to stuff. You know, we don't always have the ability to know about stuff. But these young men are so happy that somebody reached out and touched them. That's that $5,000, yeah? I need to amend my motion to include Commissioner Henry's $5,000.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and a happy evening. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Is that 25?
7-0.
10 more.
Okay.
Okay.
10 to go. We'll figure it out.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings and quasi-judicial hearings. Item 9A is the Growth Management Planning Department Halifax Health Freestanding Emergency Room Proportionate Fair Share Agreement. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the Halifax Health and North Williamson Boulevard Freestanding Emergency Room Proportionate Fair Share Agreement between the City, H.H. Holdings, Inc., and the County of Volusia, providing for the developer to pay a proportionate share contribution to Volusia County in relation to the development of a freestanding emergency room, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
We'll take a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Reed.
And I have no speakers on this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We move on to item 9B. It's the Police Department Amendment to Municipal Ordinance, Chapter 14, Animal Control. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance creating Section 21 of the City Code of Ordinances to prohibit the feeding of pigeons when such feedings create a public nuisance, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing when this ordinance shall take effect.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Strickland and Reed.
Okay.
You have speakers?
I do have a speaker, Mr. George St. Pierre.
Hey, George.
Pierre from Jungle George's, 1022 Main Street. Thank you all for putting this on and hopefully passing it. I'm hoping that this also comes with some sort of fine, because the very first sign that says "Don't feed the wildlife" facing the store, the one store that's doing this, putting a 25-pound bag of chicken feed behind their store nightly, is that sign that faces them, and it can't be more than 15 feet from the door, has not done a single thing. There is a city building right there at Breakers Park. You could put a camera on there, and I really hope you actually fine them, because otherwise it's just words. And the first sign that has an ordinance, "Don't feed the wildlife," didn't help. So hopefully there is a fine with it. Thank you.
And that was my only speaker on this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion.
Wait a minute. I don't have a form from you.
Come on,
Rick,
come
come
on,
on
just fill out another one what left you to go.
Evelyn Rodriguez, Molly Road, Daytona Beach. I was just concerned about the wording that they're using, because listening to the gentleman, I feel for him, but I know a lot of, I have a bird bath, but not a feeder. I'd like to get a feeder. But I know some women that are adamant bird feeders. Now, if they're feeding in their own home, but the droppings, they fly away, and the droppings are in the common areas, is that illegal too? I mean, how do you protect the citizens who like to feed the different birds in their backyard? And so I think maybe there should be some amendment to this wording. But this gentleman said that she's actually feeding it in her backyard, but that's still illegal. It's just confusing. So I just want to know so I can tell my neighbors they can't feed their birds anymore. But you following me? It's just not very clear as to a homeowner's right to feed birds in their property.
We're not talking about feeding birds on your own property in your backyard. We're talking about in a tourist area, right by the boardwalk, right at the end of Main Street. And if you've lived here very long, you have seen that there's been times where they've closed sections of the beach where there's the water has too much bacteria in it because of bird droppings. That's what we're trying to do here, is to stop feeding them in the core tourist area where they can put droppings on the sidewalk and right there in that neighborhood. We have plenty of birds, there's plenty of food, without somebody feeding them 25 pounds of food every week or every day or whatever the interval is, to create droppings right there in our core tourist area. And we have to start somewhere with little stuff like this if we're ever going to clean it up. So that's what that was about.
And this clearly states also to create a public nuisance. The private owners aren't creating a public nuisance, they're just feeding birds in their private yard.
Okay, I don't have any more speakers.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to 9C, it's Public Works approval of the preliminary and final plat and license agreement for Phase 1A of Walker's Green subdivision. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for the Walker's Green Phase 1A subdivision on 36.7 plus or minus acres generally located north of I-95 Williamson Boulevard interchange, bordering Williamson Boulevard to the east and Madeline Avenue to the north, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent, approving a license agreement, allowing the developer to construct decorative paving within the subdivision, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Henry. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, is there someone here? Yeah.
And if you can just state your name for the record.
Sure, Randy Hudak, Zevcon and Associates. I'm just here to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question. I know this project was approved way before me, and I know it's a final plat. I'm just curious, do you know about approximately when you guys are going to start on this, and are you starting from Madeline?
Yeah, we'll start from Madeline out. 1A is on the south, or the south side. 1B is on the north side of Madeline. And I'd like to start as soon as possible.
So
We're
you're
getting
not,
close.
are you waiting for the county to widen?
No, we'll be
Because they're
ahead.
in the design
We'll be ahead
phase.
of the county.
Do what now?
We'll be ahead of the county.
You will be ahead of the
Yeah,
county.
slightly. We may finish at the same time. There's a lot of
Okay.
on-site improvements.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to 9D, it's a Public Works approval of preliminary and final plat for Phase 1B of the Walker's Green subdivision. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for the Walker's Green Phase 1B subdivision on 77.7 plus or minus acres generally located north of the I-95 Williamson Boulevard interchange, bordering Williamson Boulevard to the east, I-95 to the west, and Madeline Avenue to the south, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent and providing an effective date.
So move.
All right, we have one motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
I don't have any other speakers for
No
this
other
item.
speakers, all right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. I'm going to move on to item number 10, which is our introduction of ordinances. Item 10A is the Growth Management Planning Department, the First Amendment to the West Speedway Town Center PDG. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 11.4 plus or minus acres of property generally located along West International Speedway Boulevard between Grand Champion Boulevard and LPGA Boulevard from PDG Plan Development General to PDG Plan Development General, approving the First Amendment to the West Speedway Town Center Plan District Agreement to add the rezoned property to the Plan District and to clarify permitted multifamily development and sign criteria within the Plan District, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item? Okay, the public hearing and final action is June 19th. Moving on to 10B, it's a Growth Management Planning Department, NASCAR Speed Park PD rezoning. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 5.1 plus or minus acres of property located at 201 Fentress Boulevard from PDG Plan Development General to PDG Plan Development General, approving the NASCAR Speed Park Redevelopment Plan District Agreement to allow for additional mixed uses with modified development criteria, including a variable parking field with parking and temporary uses, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item? The public hearing and final action is June 19th. Moving on to 10C, which is the Growth Management Planning Department Outdoor Seating Sidewalk Cafes. This is an LDC text amendment. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending Article 5 and Article 6 of the Land Development Code to modify standards and conditions for outdoor seating areas at eating and drinking establishments and their use of public sidewalk space, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments on this item from the commission? We do have Commissioner.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, on Commissioner May and I had a meeting earlier, and she wanted to ask a question in reference to, is this only for businesses that serve food and alcohol or beverages? So then her question is to make sure that we're not just going to have individuals that want to set up on the sidelines. Based on this, the reading of it, it's only for individuals who serve food or beverages and not a beauty salon.
That's correct. Thank you. Dennis Morozak, Planning Director. This does only include eating and drinking establishments, doesn't include retail establishments or other types of uses, just eating and drinking establishments.
One of the questions that came up is that we have some businesses that are maybe a cigar lounge or a office space that are doing outside seats. Are they allowed to do that on the city's right of way?
They are not. Not with this, they're not. No. And cigar lounges don't fall under the eating and drinking category.
And so we're trying to make sure that code enforcement is aware of those that are currently doing it. How are we citing them, and what's the process?
We can work with code enforcement when we do see these things and be able to address that at that time.
So.
Ken, you're working for it now.
So up until this point, it has been legal.
It has been legal to have tables out there, with the city's permission to have tables out there perhaps, but I don't know if they were given permission or they were allowed to do that at any of these locations. I'd have to take a look at that. I can't say that. Okay. Thank you.
Dennis, what does that fall under? Is that a special use permit if it's a?
No, it's, to be able to use the city's right-of-way. Typically, it's done through a permit that the city would issue, probably a revocable permit to be able to use the city's right-of-way for the seating.
Okay. And there's no other questions or comments from the commission. The public hearing and final action is June 19th.
Okay.
We're going to move on to item number 11, which is our administrative items. Item 11A is the Finance Department resolutions authorizing issuance of capital improvement revenue bond series 2024A and 2024B and approving certain related documents. This is a resolution of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, authorizing the issuance, I believe, of debt not to exceed $53 million for the Florida Taxable Capital Improvement Revenue Bond Series 2024B and the City of Daytona Beach, Florida Capital Improvement Revenue Bond Series 2024B for the purpose of financing and/or reimbursing design, installation, acquisition, construction, reconstruction, and equipping of various capital improvements relating to the Jackie Robinson Ballpark Stadium and Fire Station Number 1 and related facilities and the acquisition of certain new equipment, including a fire engine apparatus and an aerial truck, providing that the 2024 bond shall be limited obligations of the city payable from non-ad valorem revenues budgeted, appropriated, and deposited as provided herein, providing for the rights, securities, and remedies of the holder of the 2024 bonds, authorizing certain officials and employees of the city to take all actions required in connection with the sale, issuance, and delivery of such bonds, authorizing the option to insure all, a portion, or none of the bonds based on the advice of the financial advisor, making certain covenants and agreements in connection therewith, and providing conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. We'll
And I
take the
do
second.
have a speaker on this item, Mr. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. Point of clarification, since there are like 5 different things in this one item, it's purchase of equipment, it's building a fire station, and it's partially reconstructing Jackie Robinson Ballpark. So what are the numbers and why not just do the whole 30 million in this bond rather than do partial? If you're going to spend 30 million on Jackie Robinson Ballpark, what are we borrowing here towards Jackie Robinson? $1 million, 20 million, 5 million? We might as well do the whole 9 yards at one fell swoop and get it done. Because we've got perfect rating from what I understand. We've got AAA rating, yes? So if we have good rating, we're going to get supposedly good interest because of our good rating. Why not just bite the bullet, get Jackie Robinson done, get the fire station done, whatever we need to get done, get it done. Thank you.
That was my only speaker on this item. You didn't have a form. No, you didn't. I looked at it. It wasn't for this item. So if you want to come up and speak now. No, I looked. There's not.
All right, now you're gonna have to get it together.
Okay, because I did have a yellow.
You're gonna have to do a separate sheet for each item.
They told me to do the whole thing the last
No.
time in one.
That's for the
Okay.
consent agenda. You can only speak on one item. You can speak on all items on the consent agenda, but you only sign up once. You get 3 minutes to speak on the consent agenda.
All right, well, okay, well, I worked with attorneys at one time doing securities. My job entailed redlining prospectuses and registering issues with the Securities and Exchange Commission of various states. And my question on this is why it seems to me that it didn't say it on the resolution, but on the backup, we're limiting or restricting the issuance of these assets through only Truist and Jones, Ed Jones. And so that was my question of why are we limiting? So if you're not related or have accounts with those two, I would think that you would not be able to invest in that. That's what it says around over here, with bonds to Jeffries, a senior manager of Truist, and Raymond James Associates. So am I clear that it's only going to be issued through those two entities? And which would limit, maybe it's legal, but I don't think it's wise to limit it to just those two entities.
I don't have any other speakers on this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
And we do have a motion.
Oh, who was the motion in the second?
Commissioner Reed, and the second was Commissioner Strickland.
Yes, not Commissioner May. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 11B, the Utilities Department, Amcon Development Group LLC, Lift Station Number 12 Replacement Resolution. A resolution accepting the bid of Amcon Development Group LLC for the replacement of Lift Station Number 12 rehabilitation in the amount of $950,831.71, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the contract in accordance with bid documents and the return of bid security of all unsuccessful bidders, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We're going to take the second from Commissioner May. We'll take the motion from Commissioner Strickland. She did raise her hand. So all those in favor, well, do we have speakers?
I have no speakers.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 11C. It's Utilities Department, PC Construction Company, contract for lift station number 5. A resolution accepting the bid of PC Construction for lift station number 5 replacement project in the amount of $8,373,000, rejecting certain bids as non-responsive, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the contract in accordance with the bid documents and return of the bid security of all unsuccessful bidders, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We take a motion from Commissioner Paris, a second from Commissioner Reed. Do we have any questions or comments?
I have no speakers, Mr. Mayor.
All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
And that was our final agenda item.
Okay, we will now move on to commission comments. Who was first tonight?
Commissioner Cantu, no.
It wasn't me.
I don't know.
No, I think it's Strickland, isn't it?
That was in the,
You get
Commissioner May,
Yeah,
actually,
I knew it was
ironically
May.
enough, is the first.
Commissioner May says good night.
Okay.
Hello and good night. Commissioner Cantu?
I had a few things. The last commission meeting, I had talked about the new city hall budget. Well, you know me, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna find where that was. So I pulled an all-nighter 2 nights in a row. I looked from, and I went to Feature, he knows what I'm bringing up, because
Mr.
I want
Feature.
everyone aware. Feature.
We're not in the military.
Okay, so the fiscal year 2020, 2021, I went back to that budget. I went through every line trying to find the new city hall. I went all the way from 2023, 2024, and couldn't find it. Okay, so, and I kind of remember that workshop that everyone was talking about, because the following commission meeting, I was on and approved that project. But the city hall that you guys were talking about wasn't on that agenda. And that was back in August 26, 2020. But the garage and the condos or whatever at the First Baptist Church was on, because I remember trying to negotiate with the developer about additional parking spaces in that garage. So I wanted to clear it up. It was not Chisholm that we all said that started that fund. Yes, there was a lot of impact fees that was collected while he was in office, but it was not him.
It started, wait, what fund?
The new city hall fund that we were talking about the last commission meeting, I said, how was those impact fees? And everybody was saying, oh, we approved that during a workshop and back in 2020, and sometimes Chisholm would take off. Well, it was not Chisholm. It was actually us. It was not Strickland or Paris. They were not on the commission back there. So actually, I went through everything, and it actually was, hold on, I'm trying to find the exact date, so. It was it was November 3rd, 2021. We were given a presentation back then, and it had all the impact fee projects. And if you look, it has police, it has financial summary, roads, recreation and fire, but it says general government, it says city hall. It never said new city hall. Actually, I pulled I called the clerk and asked her because it wasn't up online, so all I got was the audio. I went back and listened to that audio probably 15 times. It never said new city hall. All it did was say city hall. But I think, but when you go into your 2020, in your budgets, you will never see those projects. So I have talked to Fiacher about that, and I talked to Fred, and Fred said we wouldn't see that in our budgets, when we get our budgets, all the projects and the impact fees and how much. So I have talked to Fiacher, and he said that they will start giving, Mr. Fiacher, and you said you will start giving that to us so we can see all that when we're doing our budgets from now on?
Yes, I think all of the funds do have discussions about it, but we'll make sure that it itemizes what you're talking about.
Okay, and talking to Fred said he was gonna start putting under new city hall, correct? When we had our meeting?
The budgets will come from Natalia and myself to you all. So we will make sure that it's in there. Fred will make sure he gives the information to Natalia, our new CFO, and we'll submit that to you.
Okay, no, I'm talking about the line item. It's saying.
But I'm just saying that it comes
Right.
from Natalia now, the CFO.
Okay, so it's gonna come from her now. But when we had our meeting, you mentioned it would be better if you do put in new city hall instead of just saying city hall. Because it's very confusing to a lot of the residents out there too.
Fred Coulter, Budget Officer. Now, what I said was it's called New City Hall to differentiate it from the previous Delta Project City Hall, and that's the only reason we use the word new. Better, just to differentiate it, that's all.
Okay, because we haven't done that in the past. And I have the presentation. It does say City Hall and the audio. Well, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, and
I
I've
think
done
we
the
were just
homework.
inferring new, but we understand your homework.
And, I mean, we're approving things. I wasn't aware that
We didn't
approved.
approve that. We didn't approve that. We had a discussion regarding it.
did approve
But we approved a new city hall?
No, we approved the impacts to go into a fund with new city hall, a new
Yes,
city hall.
and now that I
Correct.
recall.
Correct. But it was mentioned that we did it during, well, you guys did it during Chisholm, and Chisholm did that, which he didn't do that.
Okay.
Well, I guess that was mentioned. My initial conversation about it was under Chisholm.
Correct.
And I know that, and I know that that's where it came from, was him. So originally, and I had no problem with any of it, because if you took those same funds and you could take them and fix this building,
You can't,
why not?
because you can only build,
Oh, a
like
new-
build
build
out.
a new
You
addition.
cannot, right, you
You
cannot.
can't.
In addition to.
Correct.
So it can't be to fix this
No.
fund? Okay.
And in
And
that
that's the
discussion, he was
same-
thinking about using a parking lot and expanding.
Correct.
For the new.
Yes,
what
we
I
could
was talking
expand out, and just like the permanent licensing fees, we can't, it has to be used for permanent licensing. I mean, it cannot be, like, we could expand out and do a new permanent licensing. We could use some of the impacts from the city hall if we wanted to do a parking garage, a new chambers or something like that, but it cannot be used for any construction inside of city hall.
Okay.
The current structure.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, yes. Who got this? We are giving out free 3x5 American flags on June 14th, while they last, at the Peabody Auditorium, which will start at 4 o'clock. If anyone has any flags that need to be retired, we have a box downstairs by utilities now. We've actually collected 30 flags, I think, and the Young Marine Corps is taking care of that. And then we have a Freedom Festival, our Veterans Ceremony that we have every year around 4th of July. This is going to replace it. We're still having the Veterans Ceremony, but we're going to have a Freedom Festival, and it's going to be at Manatee Island, 355 North Beach Street. We're going to have a kids zone, live music, games, drinks, and I'm hoping you will lead off the ceremony again. And this year we're going to honor Mr. Brinkley he passed away about a year and a half ago. That started the Veterans.
Carl F. Brinkley?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah, he was a good old guy.
Go ahead.
He's so
All right.
okay.
Commissioner Henry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Commissioner Cantu and I are sponsoring the Father's Day photo contest. So we're inviting everyone out. Bring your dad in front of our City of Daytona Beach sign out there. We want you to take a picture with your dad and enter that picture into our contest. We have quite a few gift cards that we're going to be giving out to Harbor Freight and Mama Fufu, so you'll be able to take your dad out to, well, he'll be able to take you if he wins. So, so we want you to participate in that. It's a great opportunity just to show a picture of you and your dad right out front where the City of Daytona Beach sign is. Also, this Saturday, Commissioner Cantu and I honored the veterans, and Senator Wright, I think it was Commissioner Cantu, myself, Senator Wright, and Sheriff Chitwood honored our Veterans of the Year, and we honored eight Veterans of the Year from the City of Daytona Beach. They got their, what did they get? Their blankets. They got their quilts of valor. Quilts of valor, and we wrapped them in their quilts of valor. They got proclamations, and they got lots of goodies. They got good food and good music. So it was always a great time to honor. Anytime is a great time to honor our veterans. The Daytona Tigers came out today, and excited about their new program that they've started. They're going to alleviate some of that pressure from the other youth football organizations. They're full. Some of the other organizations are full, so it's going to be great to see them. They've been working really, really, really hard in the community, and I don't mean just mentoring those young boys. I mean, they're going out, they're doing projects in the community. They have those kids everywhere in the community just working, so they're understanding the mindset of community and why community is important. So it was great to get to see them. I told them to go ahead and leave because young guys didn't want to stay and listen to us go on and on all night, but they wanted to just thank the City of Daytona Beach for their support. They bought earrings with the tigers for all of the ladies up here. So I want to give you a pair, and they invited you all out to please come out and support them and watch their games as well. We have our Neighborhood Watch that's going to be going on. As you all know, we're trying to get Neighborhood Watch back up and running over in the Zone 5 area at Living Faith at 7 o'clock on next Monday. And we're going to be feeding you Chick-fil-A, so we hope that you all will come out. We also are making plans to do a reading challenge for the City of Daytona Beach, so I want you to look forward to that more. So we're going to be encouraging the children to read all summer. And I think even this time we may do a challenge out to adults as well, because we all could just do a little bit more reading. And those are my comments for tonight. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Okay. Stacy wants me to remind you, which is good, swim lessons starting Mondays and Wednesdays at the Cypress Aquatic Center for ages 4 and older. As you all know, the #1 cause of death for children under the age of 5, for children under the age of 4, for children under the age of 3, children under the age of 2, and the children under the age of 1 is drowning. So we live in Florida. Children need to be in swim lessons ASAP as soon as we can get them in swim lessons. So they have $30 scholarships are available, and TOTS for the 5-year-olds, levels 1 and 2 for 6 to 10-year-olds. Even the teens can come out and do a review, some water safety reviews, 11 to 14-year-olds, and adults 15 and up. And I did take this class because I couldn't swim. So I took it last year with Daryl Natil, and he is a dynamic teacher. I was exhausted, but he had me swimming. So it would be great if you know of children who need to be swimming, spread the word. We need to have our kids out swimming. This is imperative. We've got the resources, we've got the pool, we've got the teachers. We're going to give it to you for a scholarship. So there's no reason why we don't bring our little ones and big ones out to the pools to be swimming.
Okay, and I just want to say one thing too. I want to say thank you to the county council for the $20,000 grant that we received as well to give out those scholarships.
Awesome. And that's going to conclude my comments tonight, Mr. Mayor, and I'm glad you didn't spend my money because I would have told Mom on you.
All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Manager, if you would please, on the next agenda, would you have a presentation for the DBA and PHC for our contribution in regards to summer camp? Also, I just want to thank Chief Jakari Young and, I forgot the captain's name. There was a young man, but we conducted Peace 2. And the links, Rising Stars Young Achievers. We had a tour of the jail. We had a tour of Chief's office. He explained to them the importance of staying out of trouble. And as I indicated, we gave out the little cases that you can put your IDs in the event that you're stopped by the police. And if I recall correctly, at the last commission meeting, the mayor said he would purchase 20. And I'm sorry, Commissioner, I believe you said 15 or so? All right. And are you contributing that to this program, to Peace, so that I can give them out? Okay, I didn't know if you were doing your own thing. I just want to make sure on the record. I will take it. All right, thank you so much. It was really a nice program. If we would have more kids, I don't think we could have handled them because we were all over the police department. Chief escorted them everywhere. Tonight we bought another transport wagon. We got transport wagons up close and personal during that tour. And I'm just so grateful because a lot of times you just really don't know what trouble looks like till you get in trouble. And so these young people were able to experience that. Mr. Manager, I don't know what's happening with our phone system, but please, if I have to hear that recording 3 times every time I call, I got a problem. And I think we just purchased this thing, but it keeps telling me, thank you for calling the City of Daytona Beach. Please ask for a department or the name of the person. I'll say City Manager's office. Thank you for calling the City of Daytona Beach. Thank you for calling the City of Daytona. Yes, it does. So, I've tried to push 0. I thought maybe I could bypass and no, it doesn't work. Get to the operator. Tonight we recognized Betty Goodman. And from my own personal accord, I'd like to thank Betty. I know that she's left, but she can always go back and look at the record. But before I became a commissioner in 2012, I was one of the inaugural members of the Citizens Academy. And I learned a lot about the city in which I grew up in, and I'm very grateful for that. My aunt and I went through the class together along with John. That's the first time I met John. And it was just amazing, what all we don't know that it takes to make a city run. And then when I came into office, the people in my community always said nothing was being done. So I wanted to do something. And I created the Community Unity Festival. And Mr. Mayor, you remember that because you partnered with me and would give out your mayor's backpack giveaways during the Community Festival. Now, I don't know why, Mr. Mayor, you didn't tell me that I should be out there for 12 hours and couldn't walk the next day. But I learned my lesson that first year. And of course, Betty helped me to organize that as well. And then the Seafood Festival that we've been hosting on Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard for the past 4 years. Betty is a tyrant for detail. We met monthly, and she came in on Fridays, and she's off on Fridays with her retirement schedule. But she helped with that as well. And then last December, I came up with this other idea. Because of the flooding, I felt that our children had not been recognized for what all they had endured for going through the flooding, and we created the City of Daytona Beach's Children's Christmas Party. And of course, she assisted with that as well. So I'm just very grateful that when I come up with these ideas on things that make our city look good and helps the citizens have a better quality of life, that she's been there to help me to support those initiatives. Speaking of which, one of the last things that she's done since she's been here is the Board of Directors dinner that we hosted. You know, she has been over all of our boards, telling us when our boards were not full and what have you. And so we recently had that celebration of the citizens that volunteered to be on our boards, and she organized that dinner, she and staff members, and it was really, really nice for the board members to know that we appreciate them because they're volunteering. They're not getting paid to sit on these boards, and they come to meetings just like we do. And they're concerned citizens about our city. I had an opportunity to go to a home that wasn't in my zone, but we got an email, so I went. It was a Davis home. And I just can't emphasize enough about 386. This family needed a roof, and their insurance was going to cancel. In fact, it probably did cancel because their roof wasn't up to date. It wouldn't fix their home. And I can't remember, Ken, help me, SPG? Yes. SPG gave them a short loan, and Transform 386 is going to pay the loan back. So we were there with that family. When their home was being revealed to them, they were able to go back into their home. And this is the Davis family that's located on Kingston, and I celebrated with them. And Mr. Davis can cook some mean ribs. And then lastly, if you're wondering why I'm wearing this beautiful flower this evening that matches my jacket, I just wanted to share with you, if you would so kindly, Xavier, we unveiled or revealed our second mural in the city of Daytona Beach yesterday in Midtown. And they gave us these little flowers, all the ladies that were there. They didn't give Ken one. They didn't give the city manager one. They did. And Commissioner Paris left hers in the car. But I just wanted to show you this mural that's on the east side of Fifi's Beauty Salon. And it's recognizing Mrs. Joyner on the left and Mary McLeod Bethune on the right. And then they said, and she brought the program of, you know, before we got degrees at Bethune-Cookman, we used to have certifications. Mr. Lloyd was an electrician. They had electrician programs. They had all types of training programs. Well, she brought housing or hair products for beauticians. And Miss Fifi spoke as well. Now, Miss Fifi is the first hairdresser my mother let do my hair after my mom did my hair. My mother did my hair all through high school. But that's the first shop I went to get my hair done. And Miss Fifi is still standing. And I thank God for her. But they have Joyner, who a dorm at Bethune-Cookman is named after her. She was a board of trustee, Marjorie Joyner. So we have Joyner Hall. It was the freshman dorm. And then Mary McLeod Bethune on the right. But they said the lady in the middle with the flowers and the butterflies are all the women whose hair they've done throughout the years. So they recognize everyone whom they've been able to serve. And I just want to share with you all the second mural in Midtown. And this is going to, Commissioner May, as you and I continue to tread for that drive on the Black Trail, this will be a part of that trail because it's a part of the history of Midtown. We're going to be putting out QR codes to send you to the next locale and to tell you the history of Midtown. So I wanted to share that with you all this evening. That concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to add that I wanted to just thank our chief for going down to that city council meeting. He only had 3 minutes, and he needed 3 more minutes, but I'm very proud of him, and I'm going to stick beside him. I really am proud of him for going down there and standing up for his men and standing up for himself and standing up for the city of Daytona Beach, and that's my police chief. Thank you.
I want to just share 3 more things. Everybody may not get these handouts, but the Midtown Music concerts are back on. So before we meet again on Saturday the 15th at 7 p.m. at the Daisy Stocking Park, the new renovated Daisy Stocking Park, the Dave Cap Project will be performing at 7 p.m. Zumba, y'all need to get healthy. The Mayor's Fitness Challenge is in between right now. So the ladies of Sigma Gamma Rho are sponsoring Zumba on Tuesday evenings at 6:30, starting on June 11th, which was yesterday, through August 13th. So keep it moving. And then lastly, on Friday evening, or Friday afternoon, the Charters of Freedom dedication ceremony will take place, and I have the privilege of praying. Mr. Mayor, I know you're going to be there as well. You all, I know you'll be there if you can to support this initiative at the Riverfront Esplanade. All right.
Okay, and I have one more thing. When it's my turn to talk, I would appreciate if I want to take as much time as I want to take, Commissioner Reed does not interrupt me and go, I know, because I do not do it to her. So I would like to take as much time as I want and not to be rushed from now on. Thank you.
I just want to let everyone know the Daytona Beach Airport, they had some new LED lights that were installed on their runway, so they have been completed. So just in case there were some people that had flight patterns over their homes and were concerned what was happening, everything should be going back to normal now. So just so you know about that. We're going to be, not we are, but ISB Beach Approach is going to be closing on June 10th, so there's more information to come on that, working with the county on alternate routes that people could take to get on our beautiful beach. Just another thing too, June 8th and 9th, the Volusia County libraries will be closed. They're implementing a new catalog system, so just if anyone frequents the libraries, just to know that. And just a reminder, Council on Aging meets Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 1:30, free lunch, go socialize, you'll have a good time. And another thing, I just wanted to thank two women that are both retiring. One has retired, and if it really wasn't for them, I would have been at a loss my first 2 years as a new commissioner and new to this sort of position. So to Bobby Yarborough and Betty Goodman, thank you so much, and it's going to be a very big loss for the city, but I know it's a very well-deserved retirement, and you're still going to be hearing from me. Thank you.
First, I want to thank our chief for standing up for our community yesterday. It was a very, very powerful 3 minutes. I have a few things to say about what the county councilman said. He stated that crime, homelessness, and a lack of special events have contributed to the decline of our beach side. To that, I want to say, events in Daytona Beach, Speed Weeks, Daytona 500, the Clash Triathlon, Daytona Half Marathon, Coke Zero 400, Rolex 24 Hours, Jeep Beach, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, Rockville, Cheer Competition, Turkey Rod Run, March and November, Monster Jam, Main Street New Year's Eve Street Party, conferences at hotels and Ocean Center, St. Patty's Day and Cinco de Mayo, Oktoberfest wine walks, beer and bacon, food truck rallies on Beach Street, 4th of July fireworks at the pier, concerts on Friday and Saturday nights at the band shell with fireworks on Saturday night during the summer, concerts at Riverfront Esplanade, Easter Beach Run, Crab and Seafood Festival, Halifax Art Festival, Christmas Parade on Beach Street, Daytona Tortugas game. You know, we even have a lot of unsanctioned events that come here. Those bring in revenue to this community. Also, we have a list of improvements here on the beach side. Seabreeze, Main Street, and MMB, that's not on the beach side, but that's part of it. Improved lighting and security cameras, about $170,000, without including the $45,000 for the 2 poles under the bridge. East ISB, ongoing improvements. Main Street grant incentive programs, police substation added on the beach side, murals to the pier and the boardwalk, upcoming A1A improvements, Peabody improved programming, improved exit on the east side of the building from down by the front of the stage where the more mature residents have an easier time getting out. Don't forget we had the Ring doorbell camera initiative. Our Ocean Center, county owned plus several other parcels of land in the area, is another one of our economic generators. Why would we say anything to disparage that? There's millions of dollars tied up in that Ocean Center. It will never compete with the likes of the first or second largest under-roof convention center in Orlando. However, we do have our niche events that come there. We have the reptiles and the cheerleaders, just to name a couple. Also, we have, I forget what the little metric thing is that we can put out that tracks cell phones and put a fence around it electronically. Visits last year, 20.4 million people. return visitors, 4.3 million people. I don't know where the honorable councilman gets his facts and figures, but he needs to rethink it when he's talking about the city that's the economic generator for most of the county. Daytona Beach takes in a boatload of tax money every year, and when that gets redistributed, it does not come here. Most of it goes to Daytona, which has a larger population than we do. I don't recall anybody at the county or the state level offering to try to change that so that we get our share back, because we're doing most of that work to get that money here, right here in the city of Daytona Beach. So thanks, Chief, for defending us, and I think that right there speaks for itself, that we're not in the decline that the good councilman says that we are. And I agree with you, Chief. If he don't want to come here, don't. Why is everybody so quiet?
Let me put that. And he's still getting a pension from the city of Daytona Beach.
If we
The
could
same
stop it,
city
I'd
he's
vote
trapped.
to stop it.
Okay.
I have some other things, but I think that ought to do it for tonight.
You sure? Okay. Oh, you're not writing anything? Okay. Well, I wasn't going to weigh in on that issue. What I have learned is that over the years, sometimes it's better just to be silent and let someone else fight your battle, if it's a fight. In this case, I was quite surprised by the chief, but not surprised in the eloquence or the passion with which he represented himself, the agency, the community, and just decency. When you are elected, it's not an easy thing, and sometimes you are somewhat young, and I'm not here to give an excuse for what anyone said, but I just want us to always remember that when we talk, that was why a few weeks ago when things were going a certain way and I had certain feelings, rather than talk at that moment, I went home and thought about it. Because what happens when you're in the moment is you say things that you regret the next day. And then sometimes you regret them, but you've taken a stand and you want to say that you don't regret that you said them, but you probably do. But, you know, sometimes in our political culture, it says that you have to stand where you stand and say what you said. And it's still okay, you know, to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I made a mistake, whatever. But if that's not the case, then it's not the case. But the bottom line is, I've been in Daytona Beach for all of my life. And I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it's a better community today than it was when I was a teenager. And I don't even care what people say when they talk about the heyday. You know, my father was here. My grandfather was here. Everyone has a perspective about what we were, you know, and I celebrate what we were, but I also embrace what we are, and most importantly, I embrace what we are becoming. And that's what we're working on as a commission and as a community, is what we're becoming. And to the councilman and to all, that's what I want to continue to say, that we extend an olive branch to everyone who wants to help us to become what we aspire to be, which is the great American destination, a community that's worthy of our children's dreams and their future. But, you know, we respect the fact of what our chief did, because, you know, if you want Daytona Beach and you want to fight, clearly you know you have folks in this community who are proud of who we are, and we're willing to swing back, so on some level. So I did want to mention the Charters of Freedom and what they are. Some time ago, a group was raising money to bring the Charters of Freedom to the Riverfront Esplanade. Is Chief here, Chief Drew? Chief Drew? Chief Drew assured me that this group would raise the money to pay for the Charters of Freedom. Yeah, he might want to sit down. They didn't raise the money, but I appropriated $40,000 of ARPA funds to the cause if they didn't raise the money. And the reason that I did that was that I had hoped that they would raise the money, but they didn't. So those $40,000 are being used to pay for the Charters of Freedom. Now, what are the Charters of Freedom? Charters of Freedom, and I believe that Riverfront Esplanade are the space that they should be illustrated and highlighted, because that is our community's centering point. A centering point is like other communities in Europe where you have a town square, something that people come to and they come together to bring the community together. Well, I see Riverfront Esplanade as our centering point. We should all be able to go there, come together, beachside, mainland, everyone come. Charters of Freedom are the three central documents that are considered the most important documents in the founding of the United States of America. Well, not post, but as a part of the evolution of our country, they include the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence. And those three documents given together are considered the central point of the philosophy of what it means to be America. And so I think that for them to be centered in that location is not only befitting of that space, but it's something that we should all be able to rally behind. We should all be able to support at any given time, because the Constitution is our governing doctrine that makes us the country that we are. And the Bill of Rights, they are the sacred 10, sort of like for those who are of the Christian faith, the 10 Commandments. But those are the 10 that guarantee us the rights that we have. And of course, we know the Declaration is what declared our liberation and established us as an independent nation. So I'm proud of that expenditure, and proud and would like to encourage everyone to join us on that day as we highlight those particular documents and that day. And Drew, I want to thank you. I know I'm giving you a little ribbing, but I do want to thank you for your work on that, because it was necessary, regardless of the fact that they didn't raise the money. We sometimes we have to stand for what we know is right and what is good for our community. And if someone doesn't get the job done, we support it. So I want to thank you, because I would not have done that if you had not have encouraged it, and we wouldn't have it. So I want to encourage everyone who's here and everyone in the community, please come out, because I think that it expresses sort of what we value as a community, national pride. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your country. And those things that we don't like about our country or that we want to change about our country, that's a part of what the Constitution gives us the right to work towards changing. Because from my perspective, those three documents illustrate the progression of America, going from what we were to, I believe, a steady step towards improvement. And when we take a step backwards, you know, we all get on our high horses, work together to push the country forward because we want to make the country better for those young men, those young ladies, and all the young people who are going to assume leadership roles in this community, in this country. So please join us on that day. Those are my remarks. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners. I just want to say tonight, we saw probably one of the greatest assets of Daytona Beach. From the Westside Elementary students to the Daytona Tigers to the students from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and to Betty Goodman. What truly makes our community great was what was demonstrated with the young people. And I think that's the value of our community, that we are not going to go backwards with the type of students that we all seen tonight as far as coming to our area. So I applaud the young men, the Westside Elementary Daytona Tigers. I feel more comfortable about young people still taking an interest in public service. Also, one of the things you all have done is create the small business partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. That room is starting to be activated. There's a workshop June 14th for legal and financial topics for small businesses. The flyers within the area, we hope people will sign up and take advantage of things dealing with tax selection, licensing permits, contracts and agreements, business structure, record keeping, tax planning, internal controls, and developing financial statements. So please encourage people to participate in that. Also, don't forget about the workshop next Tuesday at 6 p.m. and 1:49. You'll receive a package electronically on Friday that will also be placed on online for the entire agenda and all of the documents that will go. So that will be next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Dinner will be served around 5:30 or 5:15. And so we will share with you all, and 6 to 8 p.m. is the time. And so that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything.
Okay, well, we thank you for standing in, for being or sitting in, and we appreciate having you. Okay, at this time, we will gladly hear
Wait,
from...
can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
You said this workshop, is that for small businesses that have permits, that are waiting for permits too, that could go there?
Anyone that
Okay.
signs up for it. Yep.
Okay, because I have some businesses that are still waiting for permits. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, yeah, we'll hear from the great residents of Daytona Beach. Yes, ma'am.
Our first speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Roberto Nicola. Excuse me.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. Four things. One, the graffiti's getting out of hand at the skateboard park. Somebody said that the city allows it, and what they've done is it's gone over to the bathroom. They took the bathroom and graffitied the bathroom. They do the tabletops, they do the garbage cans. Now they're into the parking lot. The lines and the asphalt itself are both getting graffiti. Secondly, it was nice to hear that Betty was retiring, but we have people retiring all the time. The county notifies or has on the agenda when anybody retires. I'm asking that we consider doing the same thing. If somebody gives us 20, 30, 40 years of their time, I think a little recognition saying that they're retiring is not too much to ask. Third, the county got $8 million to move Bellevue Road. They're moving it to the south, and their infrastructure going in. So there'll be a lot of development going at the airport coming down the line. So I want to make you be aware of it. And third, fourth, I was at the county meeting when Dan made that comment. And you've got to know why he said what he did. And he wasn't being offensive to the city. I was offended because whenever you say anything bad about the city, I feel badly. Every time somebody says Dirt-Tona, I get offended. All right? However, the reason why he made those comments was Merchants Association from Main Street went over and said the only reason why they're dying on Main Street is because they took driving off the beach. And Dan said that's not the only reason. You had the homeless population that hurt you guys. So he named several things, and it's true. Everything he said was true, but it came across badly. And I understand the police saying what they did, and Danny apologized yesterday for what he said. He had no intention of maligning the city or the police department. But there was a reason why he said what he said, and it's true. It's embarrassing to say that our boardwalk is not in the best shape. It's embarrassing to say that we have trash all over the place. I've said it myself a dozen times. We're neglecting the beachside. That's hurting our tourism industry. And there's a problem with the Main Street merchants themselves. All right? They're not having all the festivals, and it's not totally their fault. We went 12 years without a project manager. We as a city, and Jim Chisholm as a person, neglected the beachside. So we have a new city manager. We can expect things to change, but we can't change overnight. So he's concentrating on the city. If you look anywhere, you see changes. I'm expecting more, and I'm hopefully they'll be on the beachside as well. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry about that.
I just want to jump in on what John was saying, and that is about the homeless population, because we have to remember that although we have a homeless population, I remember when they were cities were bringing their homeless people to Daytona Beach and dropping them off here. So the homeless population just didn't belong to Daytona Beach. It belonged to the surrounding cities as well as Daytona Beach, because they brought their homeless people in. Daytona has the resources. Go over there. That's what you do, and putting them in their cars and putting them in their government cars and bringing them over here to the city of Daytona Beach. And so I just want to say that it wasn't a Daytona problem, it was a county problem, and that needed to be said. And I think that that particular council member doubled down on his comments, because when I read it, he said he meant what he said, and he doubled down. I didn't hear an apology. I'd like to hear an apology, but he didn't apologize. He doubled down. Thank you.
Some things you just don't say. Shut your mouth.
Our next speaker is Roberto P. Nicola, and on deck is Stacy Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. I hope I don't have to go home and then think, I wish I didn't say that. Oh boy, you made me think about that. So City Island has had a tennis center for 100 years, and it's been great for many generations of Daytonians. There was recreational and competitive play. Unfortunately, 8 tennis courts have been demolished, or they're in the beginning stages of demolition, either on City Island or near City Island. And there is only one volleyball court, and I see every evening driving by that there are long lines of people waiting to play just for a few minutes, because as soon as you make a mistake, you're out, because there are like 30 people waiting to play volleyball on the same court. They only have one court. So I've been asked many times, actually, who plays the tennis on City Island? And I say, well, nobody, because the courts have been locked up for 2 years almost. But they used to play there, and we used to play, many of us. So, and there are 300 volleyball players and about 200 tennis players that are waiting patiently that something will hopefully happen. A lot of people, young, old, really prefer to play on clay, not on hard courts, and same thing for volleyball, on sand, not on cement. And the reason why City Island seems to be an ideal situation is also because the city already owns the park, owns the restrooms, the parking lot. Everything would be much cheaper building the tennis courts there in the middle of that big meadow rather than going somewhere else and having much larger expenses. And I believe FEMA has certified already the loss of the old tennis courts and has agreed to some form of reimbursement. Also, because it's low-lying, just 2 feet of dirt would guarantee that the courts would be in Zone X, and that is outside of the flood risk. So both the volleyball and the tennis would be a very synergistic effect together, because people that would walk in the park would say, oh, that's great, let's join in. And the park wouldn't be affected in any way because it would be just in the center of that large meadow, but the walks, the pavilion, the lookouts, the children area, the benches, they would be all untouched. Nothing about the park would be different. So building sports facilities near where people live is crucial, and it's no coincidence that the ballpark is there where it is.
Finish your thought.
Yeah, I know. I was just gonna say one word.
Go ahead.
It's no coincidence that the ballpark is there and not halfway to the land. I'm finished. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Stacy Johnson, and on deck is Evelyn Rodriguez.
Hey, that's one of my students.
Hello, y'all. Okay, so I'm here on behalf of the Supersonics Track and Field Program. It's a program here in the Central Florida area, city of Daytona Beach. We've been around for a while, specializing in track and field mentorship for ages 5 to 18. We start from January to August. And so last year, we came before you all last year as well. We had 15 athletes that made it to Junior Olympics out of regionals. This year, we actually have 20 athletes that qualified at the district championships on June the 1st, last Saturday, to make it to the regional championship this year. Last year when we went to Junior Olympics, one of them had came in top 20 in the turbo javelin. That's out of 100 plus athletes all around the nation. So for this year, we were supposed to have regionals in Jacksonville. At the last minute, they've changed it to Lake City, which is actually 2.5 hours away. And we have several families that have to transport there from Thursday to Sunday, which will be held on June 20th through the 23rd. So we're asking for the community support, then the community official support as well, where we will need 11 rooms, as well as providing food for the athletes. These are some of the runners, which is the Black family. I just want to say track and field is definitely a way to change the youth life. And an example is, as of this week, FHSAA has approved NIL deals for athletes. And what that is money that can be given to the athletes starting in high school. So it starts from when they're walking and to when they're running. So when you start age 5 and you work your way up. And I've seen just from being here in the city of Daytona, where we had several people come out of our program who have actually ran in high school, ran in college, and also we have seen where some of them have either ran with us and they either went pro. So they can, like I say, change the lives of their families, change their lives, or so forth. This year we will be in Greensboro, North Carolina from July 28th to August 3rd, which is a week. So we definitely are in need. We have put together a budget just for the regionals alone. It's going to be $500 for those 3 days for those athletes. And it's going to be 11 rooms needed plus food. So we're just asking for the support. This athlete right here, she's actually 8 years old now. Last year she had a situation that happened, just to touch base on it, and she was told she wasn't going to be able to run. She lost her hearing. She's now back to running. She can hear now again, and so we're glad to have her back with the program. This is her sister, Kamila, which is first in the nation right now for turbo javelin. So I just want you all to know, at first they didn't do track, and so now they love track. They just didn't want to come up here with me because we got to go up there. So I just want to let y'all know that. So we're just looking for the support. Come on.
That's my girl right there.
Evelyn Rodriguez, Molly Road, Daytona Beach. I have, I've been struggling with Waste Pro. I believe that I really would like the city Public Works Department to investigate or to look into the Waste Pro trash. Okay, so they got this contract so many years ago, and although it's multi-year, they promised a lot of stuff and they never came through. They had these containers that had dividers on the side. The city promoted recycling to separate everything. They started doing that for a little while and they stopped doing that. I have videos of them dumping everything in the back of the truck. I contacted Public Works. They said, oh, it's too expensive and they'll do that at the landfill. I called Waste Pro. I have the situation where my neighbor and I, we're both single, so we share. I put my home trash in her trash can to help out, and she puts her yard trash in my trash can, so there's, you know, not all these little bits. Well, today, she accidentally put her home trash out because she forgot the date, and they put both the home trash in with the yard trash. Okay, so I'm thinking that this Waste Pro is not doing what they said that they were going to do. You know, we have all these environmentalist people that are worried about the environment, and yet we're supporting this trash company that is just dumping everything in one heap. And I physically have seen this over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, they do separate. I put my recycle bin out in the trash. I have different days that it's picked up. And I actually asked for my residents in Margaritaville because they wanted to see where the recycling stuff does go. Actually, Waste Pro has a contract in Ocala where they recycle. So if you ever want that video, call David at Public Works and he can send you that video. And it's very informative, exactly everything they do with recycling. So we do recycle.
Our next speaker is Stanford Boulevard, and on deck is Sylvester Peters.
Good evening, Mayor Henry, City Manager Fiecher, and the dais with the Commission. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. My name is Tracia Culver, and I am the chairman for the Accent on Youth program with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And my co-chairman is here, Ms. Rakenya Henson, and I brought some of the students with me and some of their parents with me. I did send a letter to each of the commissioners on Monday requesting funds to help us to take these wonderful young ladies to Disney as a reward. Unfortunately, we've had grants and funding over the years through fundraising, and this year it just didn't, we exceeded our budget because we feed them, we meet with them twice a month, and so we just don't have the funding to do what we wanted to do. We have a total of 16 graduates between both schools, and I'm proud to say that all 16 are going to college. These young ladies are in clubs, they're in extracurricular activities. Some of them maintain above a 4.0 GPA. So I just want them to address and let them tell you a little bit about what we do and how they enjoy the program.
Good evening. Well, I enjoy the program because when I first came into high school, I am a very social person, but I didn't talk as much. Got involved with the program, didn't really know about it. My sister, she was already involved with it. Then that got me to like get around more people from different schools. Cause yeah, we already know, like I already knew some people that went to mainland, but I started to get to know people from Seabreeze, Creek, FPC, everybody that was all involved in the program. And it got us to like know people from like different like parts. We learned stuff with each other. We even talked to different speakers. They taught us stuff about like self-branding, how to save. Like we even worked with little kids at summer camps. We were camp counselors for a few weeks, which were actually fun because would you ever imagine like teenagers actually wanting to be camp counselors instead of being on their phones at the house? It was actually fun. We got around kids, seeing how we were when we were kids. We even meet like she said twice a month. We sit, talk, conversate, learn new stuff each week. We meet new people. It's just a good experience, and I feel like if we are granted the money to go on this trip to celebrate, I feel like it would be very fun because most kids never been to Disney or been to these big parks like that. So that'd be a part of their childhood that they could actually tell their kids or their friends, I've been there, I can experience that and stuff like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Go to Chris.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kyla. I am actually one of the 16 graduates of the program, and I would like to say that I think we should all be helped into going to Disney because I actually experienced the trip last year, and I really enjoyed my time there. I actually learned a lot from the workers that worked there. They gave us little group meetings that they were called Imagineers, and it really like helped us shape our minds into like what we could be in regards to leadership and mentoring.
Hello, my name is Jalecia Yan, and I just wanted to speak about the program. The program really helped me and develop my thinking on what I wanted to do after high school. I started the program when I was a junior at Atlanta High School, and it developed my future on what I wanted to be after high school and stuff like that. At first, I knew I wanted to be in the medical field, but being in the program, we took trips to different colleges. People came and taught us about different businesses and different fields to go into after high school, and it helped me decide what I wanted to be. I decided I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to go to, I decided to go to Bethune-Cookman in the fall to become a family nurse practitioner. And I feel like the program really helps young ladies with their future, and currently in high school, it helps with grades. Our mentor, Dr. Cover, she stays on top of us with grades, attendance, everything. She really plays a big part in our lives, and I really feel like a lot of students would be appreciative if we would be able to go to Disney. It's a reward for what we have accomplished during the year.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bethia Hall, and my daughter is Ariana Williams. She is a up-and-coming senior at Atlantic High School. This program has provided my daughter and these beautiful young ladies to go and see many different colleges to the point where her heart is set on going to FSU. A lot of us are single parents in the program, and we couldn't provide these college tours by ourselves. So Dr. Cover and her right-hand lady had did a wonderful job with these ladies. They are all goal-driven, college-driven, respectful young ladies. I've had the pleasure to come to the school and volunteer with them, and I would like them to see great things and in this school year with going to Disney. That way they could share this last experience with the 16 other young ladies that graduated. Thank you.
As you ladies can see, I did make a donation, but I want to encourage you all to always do just what you did tonight. Advocate for yourselves, speak for yourselves, stand up for yourselves, be proud of yourselves. You have great mentors, and you're on the road to even greater things. I won't say you're on the road to greatness because you're already in greatness, but you're on the road to even greater. So keep it up. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Peterson, and that's Andrew.
All right. Hello. How we doing tonight? My name is Sylvester Peterson. Address 408 Fremont Avenue, Daytona Beach. I'm I don't know. We ought to talk about it. We're having a lot of good discussions tonight. I kind of enjoyed tonight a little bit, but what I'm talking about now is kind of going in another area. Do we need to talk about it? I mean, wow. I've talked about this several times before, and I guess it's getting worse, about this crime over here on Fremont and Seagrave, that Seagrave area. And I don't know if you all familiar with it, but an officer was arrested. This guy, what's his name? Stephen Coben. Well, I think he was a deputy. I think he's a sheriff deputy. He was arrested for, I don't know if it's true or not, but they arrested him on it. Supposedly sexually assaulted, battery, false imprisonment on one of these females that's working the streets. I don't know if it's true or not, I don't know. But they arrested him for it, and it's been all over the TV and all that. But that's in that area. That happened in that area that I've been talking about, that I had been talking about. I know the last time I came out, it was a captain from the Daytona Beach Police Department. He said he was investigating that area, but we never heard anything else back from him. You know, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from him. Didn't hear anything, so I don't know what's going on. But then this happened, and so I'm here now because a lot of people are uneasy in the area. Probably not going to come up here and talk about it, but they're kind of concerned, man, because these are supposed to be officers and things that's patrolling the area, and then type of stuff is happening. So I just thought I'd come up and talk about it, or at least try to find out, or either talk with or have the chief police talk with us or whatever. You know, let's try to do something because it looks like it's just going to get worse. One of the ladies that bees out there, I've seen her out there. I was walking, and she stopped and talked to me because she kind of familiar with me. She know I don't like the little what's going on. And she was telling me, say that he's not the only one. Say there's other officers that pay for sexual favors. Now, I don't know if we can trust her or believe her or whatever, but hopefully it's not true. But this is what she says. I don't know. Let's see what we can do about it. I don't know. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Ruby, and on deck is Emily Knight.
Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. Three very different topics. I'd like to invite everyone to come to the Beachside Neighborhood Watch meeting tomorrow night. Our guest speaker will be Bill Griffin from Halifax Health, Director of Strategic Planning. Because we're growing so fast as a city, it would be great to have a conversation about how are we going to provide the healthcare services that we're going to need for all the people who are coming. And our business spotlight will be with Jenny Nazak, Echo Landscaping Services, and I invite anybody who's on the beach side of business who'd like to put a business spotlight to just reach out, and we will have them be a business spotlight. That's topic one. Topic two, my favorite thing to do is come up here and make a suggestion and have everybody look at me and go, we're doing that. So I am hoping that that these murals are gonna have labels. If they're historically significant, there should be a sign next to the mural that reads what it is. There should be something online in the Black History Trail that talks about why it's historically significant, who the people are. And I love the idea of the QR, the walking code thing. But all of that needs to be in all those places, because once everybody dies, nobody's gonna know who anybody is. Last thing is, I went to my very first county council meeting on May 21st. And I went to speak in favor, to encourage the county council to start exploring what it would take to put beach driving. That's all back on that section. That's all that they were being asked to do. They weren't being asked to take a yes and no vote on actually restoring beach driving, just could it be done? And the merchants didn't get up and say that was the only thing that they thought would save them. They got up and they said something that what they said was, when they took beach driving off that section of the beach, they saw their business drop. They were just reporting a fact. They know there are other things that need to happen on Main Street. To find solutions, we're going to need a lot of creative thinking. But creative thinking does not mean we need solutions to come from fact, not fiction. You can't just make things up and complain about things that are made up and think that you've offered a solution. There was no solution offered there. And it was shameful. It really was shameful. I was almost mad enough to run for county seat too, because our county seat representative sat on his hands and did not even come close to defending his district. Are there problems on Main Street? Absolutely. But I want to thank the Commissioner Strickland and Chief Young for going and setting the facts straight, because we need fact-based solutions. Thank you.
And our final speaker tonight is Emily Nice.
Good evening, everyone. Emily Nice, 941 North Oleander. At our last commission meeting, there was some ambiguity about the definition of assaults. We in the Seabreeze area are very concerned with limiting crime. And as the Seabreeze Neighborhood Watch chairperson, it's my duty to be concerned with crime, to look at crime, and certainly to help come up with ideas and requests to reduce crime. And in so doing, I first want to thank Chief Young, and I was so pleased to hear all of your compliments for him, because he and his agency are outstanding. We tried to show them that at our police appreciation event recently. So getting back to the definition of assaults, I have an email from DBPD, and I just wanted to share, because transparency and facts are a good thing. And it's always been my job professionally to get that information. So, assault offenses are an unlawful attack by one person upon another. The weapons used or the extent of the injury sustained typically will be the deciding factors in distinguishing aggravated from simple assault. A weapon can be a gun, knife, broken glass bottles, rocks, a shoe, I guess a high heel too, mace, and pepper spray. Aggravated assault is an unlawful attack by one person upon another wherein the offender uses a dangerous weapon or displays it in a threatening manner, or the victim suffers obvious, severe, and aggravated bodily injury, or where there is a risk for serious injury and intent to seriously injure. That includes broken bones, loss of teeth, possible internal injury, severe laceration requiring medical attention, or loss of consciousness as a direct result of force. Simple assault is something that we should not take lightly. That is, according to DBPD's definition here, an unlawful physical attack by one person upon another where neither the offender displays a dangerous weapon nor the victim suffers obvious, severe, or aggravated bodily injury involving apparent broken bones, loss of teeth, possible internal injury, severe laceration, or loss of consciousness. Simple assault includes offenses such as minor assault, hazing, assault, battery, and injury caused by culpable negligence. My last point is thank you, DBPD. And also I have the A1A plans if anyone wants to see them. Thank you.
What do you mean, the A1A plans? Oh,
DOT's A1A plans, I have the landscaping plans, the road plans, and if any businesses are concerned with what the future will look like, they're welcome to contact me.
okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just make one comment about the, regarding those definitions, just for some clarification. Having been counsel to the police department for over 18 years, the definitions that are being referenced from the police department are related to their Class 1 filing of incidences that occur. Assault by definition pursuant to Florida statute, I believe it's 84303, I believe, or 84503, is what was presented previously. An assault is not an actual contact, but it's a threat with an apparent ability to accomplish that threat. So by statutory law, it's really different than what was presented in the police standards. Not that there's anything wrong with the police standards, they're absolutely right in terms of how they look at the level of violence and how it fits into the violence definitions, but the actual legal definition of assault is not as extensive. However, it is when we talk about aggravated assault, because aggravated assault by definition is someone simply pointing a firearm at someone, but it never really includes the actual contact. Once the actual contact is made, then that's a battery, simple or aggravated.
So assault is not necessarily in the same realm as battery.
From the perspective of classifications for police standards, yes. From the perspective of state law, no. If I charge someone as a former prosecutor for an assault, I'm charging them with not actually completing the act, but the threat of the act and the apparent ability to complete that act. So if I charge them with aggravated assault, it's because they pointed a dangerous weapon at someone or threatened someone with a dangerous weapon, but never completed it. If they complete the act, then it becomes aggravated battery. Or if it's simple battery or simple assault, it becomes simple battery once the act is completed, which is an unlawful touching, contrary to the permission of the individual.
Okay.
It was my question last meeting. I just asked what simple assault was. So, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you. And, again, we want to make certain that everyone knows that we respect law enforcement. We respect the classifications of how the law is applied, and, we take these things seriously. Is there any other comments from anyone else? All right. Be great, Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach. Not Daytona.